So, yeah, this is Coriolis, Third Horizon. The answer to your question, Drat, the first and second Horizons were the earlier expansions from Earth.
Okay.
So the first Horizon was moving out and attempting to find nearby stars that could be colonized. The second Horizon, if I remember rightly, I mean, I'll check this in a moment, but if I remember rightly, the second Horizon was the first group of stars colonized using effectively a warp technology. They found portals which connect stars together. It's a good old-fashioned, we don't know who built these, but there are jump gates system. And the third Horizon is this lot. We'll get a little bit into that, though, in a moment, because I'm going to run through some of the stuff that's in the quick start. It's actually a really impressive quick start. If anybody wants to look at this game, it is available for free as a quick start on, for example, Drive-Thru-RPG or Modiphius's website, or I think you can probably get it through Free League Publishing's website, though that might send you to Modiphius.
Might. Awesome.
Either way, the quick start is actually a 72-page document with a scenario and all the rules you need to play. It's a considerable chunk of a rule book, but only the bits you actually need. So, for example, the skills section in the rules in here, in the quick start, pretty much matches up to the one in the core rulebook. It's not, here is a cut-down version of our list of skills. It's, here is the list of skills and their descriptions as described in the core rulebook. You're getting something that is extremely useful. From a player point of view, you can play with the quick start and probably not worry about it at all.
Which could well be what I intend to do.
Technically, I could, in fact, let both of you have a full copy of the PDF core rulebook to play from. Because while it's a little, while the logistics of it and the legality of it are a little bit iffy, I do own the game 3 times, once in print and twice in PDF.
Good Lord.
So theoretically...
Twice in PDF. I'm curious on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, I originally got the game through Bundle of Holding, which was a pretty awesome bundle, actually. It was Coriolis and also Tales from the Loop, which is an award-winning game using the same system that has done really, really well. And that's everybody's raving about Tales from the Loop, but it was Coriolis that leapt out to me as being something that I would like to play. And that gave me Coriolis, Tales from the Loop, and a bunch of supplements between the 2 games. Then I bought the print copy because I really like the look of it from Modiphius. And when you buy a print book from Modiphius's own page on their website, shipped directly from them, they give you the PDF. So I've bought the PDF twice and the print copy once. So if I'm using the print copy, I've got 2 PDFs, which technically I'm entitled, therefore, to have 3 people reading this book at the same time. 2 in PDF and 1 in print. But it is a bit dodgy because whether PDF licenses are transferable and so forth gets into a whole morass of strangeness.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not what we're doing right now, but I thought it was an interesting thing to bring up.
Okay, Fish. What do we need? We are in your hands.
We need D6s.
Right, how many?
We may not even need D6s, but if you do need any dice, it's going to be D6s, and I would suggest that you have 2 which are distinguishable from one another. Okay. If you have to roll anything in character creation, it is likely to be on a D66 table.
D66.
So anyone who's played Traveller will know the D66 because it was a very common table format in Traveller. It's basically you roll 2 6-sided dice if you were rolling percentile. So the first die is your tens, the second die is your units. But obviously it gives you a limited range of numbers running from 11 to 66 and going through the possibilities along there. There's a whole bunch of tables on the GM screen using that, which are rather cool. So, for example, there's a critical injuries chart. If you roll 11, you get the wind knocked out of you. If you roll 66, your skull is crushed and you're instantly killed.
Okay.
Nice.
Nice, fun stuff. There's also an set of NPC generator tables using a D6, or one table with a set of columns for a D66, where you can roll on first name, last name, profession, characteristics, and activity. Quickly create an NPC to shove into your game. It's quite a nice GM screen. I very rarely see GM screens that I approve of the content on, to be honest. Can't say whether I do properly approve of this one because I've not run the game yet. When I've run the game, I may be looking at it and saying, hang on, this is a really important essential table. Why the hell isn't it in the GM screen? Which I've done with pretty much every GM screen I've ever owned for any game ever. Best one I've ever owned was actually the AD&D 2nd edition GM screen. In terms of actually having the tables you need in it, that hit the mark closer than anything else. Worst, D&D 5th edition. D&D 5th edition ignores every table you might ever use and instead shoves in a bunch of tables you're never going to need and then calls itself a GM screen. That's not a GM screen. It's just a blind. That's all it is. It's a pretty picture on one side, and on the other side, pin your own pieces of paper.
I've got so many custom-made GM screens that are pretty much exactly that.
Yep.
I've hacked pictures out of magazines for the player side, and I've got tables photocopied from the books on the inside.
Oh, yes.
That's the way to do it. Absolutely,
Corbond,
yep.
pictures, transparent Corbon. Sorry, Fablon, rather. Yeah, so you've got Fablon, pictures, transparent Fablon, all my stuff on the back. The way it works.
All these harsh words. Cardboard back from an A4 pad, sticky back plastic.
That's what Fablon is.
Oh, okay.
It's what the person who used to have to sell it. Fish, I'm going with the, you want distinguishable D6s.
Yeah. This is just purely so that you know what you're rolling.
Yep.
Because, as I say, if you do have to roll any dice, which I'm not sure it will, it will be probably on a D66 table, in which case, obviously, doing what you've rolled is helpful. Though on the other hand, because we're fairly, we're fairly loose on such things, it's also entirely possible that if you're rolling on such a table, I'll let you take it either way anyway, one that you prefer, because that's quite often how we do things.
Yeah.
We're just that kind of group.
Yes.
That's how we roll.
So, the Third Horizon. The Third Horizon, commonly just the Horizon, is 36 star systems joined through space and time by mystic portals. Important word, mystic.
Mystic.
Arabian Nights in space here. These are not Stargate-style portals. These are definitely mystic portals. The mystic, the other world, the supernatural, is a big deal in this game. One of the key mechanics is that you can pray to the icons, which are the gods of this setting, pretty much at any point during play for an effect, an immediate effect. But I'll get onto that in a little bit when I explain the mechanics of it. The Horizon of today is a melting pot of different cultures, peoples, and factions. However, these peoples, for the game setting, all take their inspiration from the Middle East. Whereas most sci-fi settings, you've got people that look mainly like America. And if you go back a little way, sort of 70s and early 80s, you tended to have people who looked a lot like the Romans in space, because there was a big fad for that at one point. This one, you're looking at emirates and caliphates and people in Jalaba and so forth, wandering around being kind of funky and Sinbad in space.
Excellent.
Immediately, I thought, Sinbad in space, I can go for some of that.
I can get behind that, yes. I strongly suspect I'm going to poach your name from the Protector.
Fair enough. So, hundreds of years ago, two colossal colonization vessels left Earth. Their names were Zenith and Nadir, and their destination was the star Aldebaran. Aldebaran, or however you want to pronounce it, because I've heard dozens of different pronunciations. Colin will do. The crews lived their lives aboard the ships through centuries of deep space, so they were generation ships. We all know about generation ships, I assume, because we all are into sci-fi, otherwise why are we interested in Coriolis?
We've all played ED. We've seen what happens to generation ships.
Yeah.
It's never pretty.
Somewhere along the way, what happens to generation ships happened to the Nadir. It vanished, never to be seen again. No one knows what happened to it. The Zenith continued alone and finally reached its destination. But the people on board discovered that they were not the first to arrive. They arrived in an already colonized cluster of star systems linked by ancient portals. A long time after the departure of Zenith, the ruling powers of Earth discovered one of these portals and through it a shortcut to what became known as the Third Horizon.
That's embarrassing.
So that's where we are.
Yeah.
Again, not an uncommon feature in sci-fi, the idea of a generation ship arriving after people have already got there due to an advancement in technology that allows faster than light travel. Excellent episode of Andromeda, for example.
Yep.
Number of other places as well.
Yeah.
So,
Tony Todd, if I recall correctly.
Yes, that's the name I was trying to remember, which is why I sort of hung up there, because I was going to say, yes, start featuring, oh God, I can't remember his name.
Captain of the Bellerophon.
The Bellerophon, yeah. When you were going to run an Andromeda-based RPG, I had a member of the Bellerophon crew as my character, one of those who had left the ship after that episode.
Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting idea, character from that much further back, even than Dylan.
Yeah, it would have been quite fun. I still would, at some point, it would be nice to be able to run that, because I had some good plots for it.
Yeah, it
or
would
just
be cool.
reskin them and do them in something else. Okay, so
the first and second horizons. Just quickly look at this. Let's see. Right, mankind has discovered a remnant from a highly advanced culture, which they named the Portal Builders, because they're very imaginative that way. The portals opened the way for humanity to travel to the stars, and a new golden age began. Colonization vessels sought out distant stars, establishing the first and second horizons. So I had misremembered. In fact, both the first and second horizons were established through the portals.
Okay.
Finally, the third horizon was reached, and it became a haven for radicals and free thinkers from the first two horizons. Earth-like worlds were discovered and colonized, massive palaces and temples erected, civilization slowly spread across the third horizon. As always happens when people are concerned, it all went to shit. And the portal wars began.
You're subtle.
The first horizon wanted to reclaim the systems that had freed themselves. So a war started as a result. This lasted for several years and ended with the third horizon cutting itself off from first and second horizon. Portals will operate between the worlds of the third horizon, but will no longer travel to the second or first horizon.
So the third horizon basically picked up its ball and went home.
Did indeed, yeah. When the silence after the war was at its deepest, Zenith finally arrived in the third horizon. This massive arc ship found its original destination world already colonized by the lords and emirs of Dabaran. They've dropped the Al from the beginning.
Okay.
So Aldebaran, Aldebaran, however you want to pronounce it, is now just Dabaran. After travelling the war-torn horizon, Zenith decided on the cluster's central system, Kur, as its new home. However, a mutiny aboard soon divided the crew. People, everything goes to shit when people are concerned. We know this.
Any system, no matter how good.
So what happened? It split along the following lines. The captain's family fled the ship and settled on the planet below. The remaining colonists cannibalized the ship, rebuilding it into the space station Coriolis, from which the game takes its name. And there is an excellent map, which unfortunately you don't get PDF. If I can actually show you bits of this map at least.
Oh.
Good grief.
That's big.
So we've only got a small part of it really, because that's just a slice through it for those two sections. And we also get the edge on. There's a poster map available that has the Coriolis on one side and the third horizon on the other side, and it looks to be really rather cool. But unfortunately, that's only available in print, which means that both the map of the third horizon and the map of Coriolis can only be obtained in print form. If you buy the game purely in PDF, if you're in a country where you just can't get hold of the print copy, you'll never get those maps.
Yeah.
To me, it is a flaw in the system. They need
that's
to
a
address
shame.
that. But there you go, because they're really nice maps. And the poster map looks very good. I'm probably going to pick it up at some point. I almost bought it at the same time as the book, but it was enough to up the shipping cost. So I didn't. And now I regret that. So the Coriolis station began a new era in the Third Horizon, a time for trade, reawakening, and peace, ostensibly. However, the crew of the descendants of the crew of the Zenith, was being a generation ship, all the people who actually arrived had grown up on the ship. They'd never known anything but space. They called themselves Zenithians, and the people from the original colonization via the portals called themselves the First Come. The Zenithians, despite the fact that the First Come had already inhabited, colonized the area and developed their own culture and even fought a war to keep the place, the Zenithians nevertheless started to take over upon their arrival.
Oh.
And they do now rather dominate. Many, even among the First Come, still now identify somewhat as Zenithians, despite not having come from the Zenith, simply because changing culture that it brought is something that they associate with. It's a more sort of forward-thinking culture that is a bit more out and do things, whereas they were beginning, I think, I get the impression, to stagnate a little bit.
Okay, that's ironic.
Having fought their war, kept their system, and then settled down, and then suddenly some new go-getters came along and said, right, we're going to do things now with this place.
Zenithians or yuppies?
Or perhaps yuppies, yeah. The centre of the Third Horizon is the Kura system, where the space station Coriolis orbits the green jungles of the planet Kura. The system is also home to the burning hot... We don't really need to know about these at the moment. There's some other planets, an asteroid belt, stuff like that. The system's inhabitants live on the planet Kura.
So if you don't.
Many dwelling close to an ancient wonder left behind by the portal builders, a gigantic monolith made habitable by the Zenithians, in the industrial conglomerate that stretches along the planet's equator.
Are we talking big chisels, hollowed out monolith, or are we talking on monolith, or are we talking that's badly phrased?
I think the monolith was possibly hollow to begin with. I'm not sure. I haven't properly looked up Kura, partly because the scenario that I'm going to be running takes place in Dabaran, so I was more interested in what Dabaran was like.
Problem. That's fair enough. That's fair enough, no trouble. It was just purely
we can revisit
be interesting. Yeah.
This is something that isn't important for the moment. When the Zenithians founded Coriolis, they sent word out. They created, to all intents and purposes, is a Third Horizons EU. They created sort of a council, the members of which are known as the factions.
Because they're factions.
Factions are, let me see,
okay.
Sortium, a group of powerful corporations, the Zenithian hegemony, the descendants of the captain's family on board the Zenith, or the captain family, the officers, basically.
Okay.
They use the word captain in here a lot, but from the numbers, I'm thinking basically it's the officers of the Zenith rather than colonists.
Yeah.
Those are the guys who settled Kura. Free League, which is a union of free traders, the mercenaries of the Legion, the secretive Draconites,
secretive?
The divine...
They call themselves secretive.
No, they just call themselves the Draconites, but they're described here as secretive.
I want a t-shirt that says secretive Draconite.
Yeah.
Ask me
the
how.
Divine iconoclasts of the Order of the Pariah, Harlem's Temple with its courtesans and philosophers,
yeah,
and lastly, the Church of the Icons, which is the People's Church. The two other groups that aren't factions, or they are recognized as factions by most people, but they aren't actually on the council, are the Syndicate, which, as you might imagine, is the organized crime about the Third Horizon, and a bunch of nomads. The Nomad Federation does not have a seat on the council, but is viewed as a faction because it's a significant group of people. Not necessarily of one mind, but representing a chunk of the population of the Third Horizon.
Okay.
Is there a reason they don't have a seat on the council, or is that kind of a thing to find out in play? Or is that a... I don't know.
The Syndicate don't, because they're the Mafia, and you don't give the Mafia a seat on the council.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The Nomad Federation, I suspect, don't have a seat on the council, primarily because they are essentially a first-come faction. And they're not representing a nice, stable, fixed group. There are a lot that are shifting around. I have a feeling, basically, the Zenithians, when they set up the council, just ignored them. But I haven't fully read all of the background details, so I might be wrong. There may be more to it than that. I don't know. So, with the council in place, the Third Horizon began to blossom again under the new Zenithian, not really rule, but certainly influence. Then, just as this was happening, the peace was broken again. From the depths of the gas giant Zini rose the faceless emissaries. Spectres from another world, icons or portal builders, the theories about their origins are many. The emissaries demanded a seat at the council and got one. One of the emissaries claimed itself an incarnation of the icon the Judge, to which the Order of the Pariah cried sacrilege and closed their home system to all travel. New age of shadows and suspicion has dawned, and the people of the Horizon all wonder what is the true agenda of the emissaries.
The Order of the Pariah is going to end up in the cupboard just going, no, I'm not coming out.
Yeah, the Order of the Pariah basically just fight everybody as far as I can tell. So yeah, that's the basic arrangement for what we have in the Third Horizon.
Okay.
Which should give you enough of a basic background to start thinking about what we want in the way of characters.
Okay.
At which point I have to swap books.
And we are the crew of an explorer ship, aren't we?
Yes. The first part of creating your characters in this game is that you start out creating a group. They very much go into the idea that your characters are not created individually, that you are creating a player character group. It is a full party. You're supposed to create the characters together where possible.
Okay.
Creating a group runs through the following steps. You first pick your group concept. Well, in this case, because I'm using the characters from the quick play, it's done for us, which is Explorer.
Yeah.
So if I just quickly to the Explorers section,
Whoa.
The Horizon is full of mysteries to uncover. You are truth seekers who refuse to settle for the Bulletin's oversimplified version of reality. It's all there if you just scratch the surface a little. Explorers not only delve into the past, they also push beyond the frontiers of the Horizon as colonists, curious anthropologists, traveling journalists. As explorers, you dig through the frozen ruins on Surta, the remnants of the portal builders in the jungles of Coriolis, search for forgotten colonies along the Enau Arm. Explorers group concept can also be used for prospectors, colonists, and correspondents.
Okay.
So that's who you are. You've got a ship as a result of this. Again, the core rulebook contains rules for building your own ships. Part of creating a group is you can actually design your ship during character creation as part of your group creation. So you decide on what your concept is and you build the ship that this group hangs out on.
Okay.
In this case, you have actually got one of the pre-designed ships from the game. Unsurprisingly, they've given you that. Let me just find the deck plans in rulebook. Wave it inefficiently at the camera.
Which will blur it because it can't see your face.
No, it's actually okay.
Everything where you can't see my face. That is a light freighter. It's a Scarab light freighter. You may or may not have been able to see on that it looks to me like it was probably mapped using Campaign Cartographer's Cosmographer add-on, because I recognize some of the icons. Saying this is a bad thing. Love Campaign Cartographer.
Yeah.
And that B, it actually has an arboretum. It's got a little dome on the top with plants and trees and things in it, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
Like that. It adds an interesting element of style.
Is that where we flee when the Weeping Angels invade?
Yes. Yes, it is. Don't blink.
Nope.
So
blinking.
that's the ship that you have got. If we really enjoy this, and people want to play more of Coriolis, we will then have to think about whether we're going to continue with these characters or create a new group, or possibly create a new group with these two characters that you're going to create now as its core, but maybe a different group concept. But for now, this will do. You are part of the crew of this ship whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, but is a Scarab class freighter. So once you've done your spaceship, you get to pick your group talent. This again, surprise, surprise, has been done for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if I just jump to one of the characters, I can then tell you what the group talent is. It is that you are truth seekers.
Okay.
Truth seekers. That sounds vaguely religious.
It does, doesn't it?
Let me just look up truth seekers in the group talents. So as explorers, you had 3 talent options. You could be seasoned travelers, you could be survivors, or you could be truth seekers. As truth seekers, you can find important information or get a clue from the GM without rolling dice. The information must be important enough to enable you to overcome a minor obstacle or challenge in the scenario. I get 1 darkness point if you use it. Darkness points, again, I will explain later on, but a lot of the things that you can do in this game, including praying to the icons, give me darkness points. And then I use those darkness points for various mechanisms in the game. They kind of remind me of the way the threat dice work in Axe.
Mm-hmm.
That you can do stuff that give me points that I can then use to do shit.
Or like some of the chips in Deadlands.
Yeah. Can only use Truth Seekers once per session, and that's for the entire group.
Ah,
so
okay.
it's very much an if we're going to use it, we need to agree we're going to use it type ability.
Yeah.
I think pretty much all the group talents work that way. So that's your group talent. Potentially useful talent in.
Yeah.
Having done that, the last 2 steps, again, we're going to skip. It's not so much that they've been done for you, as they're not really relevant for a quick play, which is that your group will have a patron, and your group will have a nemesis. Now, they provide a list of suggested patrons and nemesis.
Okay.
However, what those are really, they're people within the setting to give you an idea of the sort of people we're talking about. I think most GMs and groups are probably going to invent a patron and invent a nemesis for themselves, rather than pick the one from the list, which is a fairly short list, to be honest.
Okay.
All us here, we've got 4 possible patrons and nemesis, and it's the same 4 people. It's one list to pick both from. So, and one of them is actually one of the pre-gen characters in the quick play, just for good measure. So I'm not sure quite how that works. Your patron is me. Says one of the characters.
His own patron.
Yeah.
I don't know what this guy's name is. Or girl's name is.
So that's the group creation, which we've skimmed through because we're not really doing it.
But is that really a big problem that the entire party would need to solve?
Possibly. So, for the player character. Player characters have 19 steps to run through. So
19?
I'll just quickly list them all. Yeah, it's not really that big a deal. Most of these are, that's a step.
Right, okay.
So step 1, for example, is choose your background. So choose your background, choose your concept. That's the first.
Well,
I say 19 steps. Actually, it starts at step 6 because we've had 5 for the group, so it's not that.
Bloody hell.
But
Okay.
choose your background, choose your concept. So that 2 separate steps. Is that 2 separate steps? It is, because they've listed it that way. But really, that's just know where your character comes from and decide on the concept. Concept is a little bit more than it may sound, however. They use the term concept in this game for what are effectively, it's not quite classes, it's more like template creation.
Okay.
So the concepts are, and each of them has 3 sub-concepts, which define it further. Artist, data spider, fugitive, negotiator, operative, pilot, trailblazer, preacher, scientist, ship worker, and soldier. And as I say, each of them has 3 sub-concepts going beyond that. And during your character creation, they then sort of guide you through certain elements of the character creation. So I just jump across to the first concept and let you know. So first off, it tells you a modifier to your reputation, plus or minus whatever number. What your key attribute is, which, as far as I can tell, is just purely in terms of that's the attribute that applies to the sort of stuff this concept does. So make sure that it's decent, not that it actually has. It's not like D&D, for example, where your key ability gave you an experience bonus.
Oh, right, gotcha.
And then it lists some skills for each of the sub concepts. We also have a list of talents to pick from, so your concept will then give you another talent. Suggestions for a personal problem. Each character has to have a personal problem in this game.
You have to have a personal problem.
Some suggestions for your relationships to the other PCs, because this being heavily focused on creating a group, you will have a relationship with each PC. Essentially, your character sheet has a space that is a bit like the old World of Darkness, how do the clans view each other section.
Yeah.
Which is, what do you think of the other PC?
I want to play a misanthropic loner.
I'm hoping that your characters will be able to directly replace on a one-for-one basis 2 of the pre-gen characters, to the extent that I can just copy-paste the relationships that the other characters had with those.
Okay.
How well this will work will depend, of course, on what concepts you want to go for.
Okay.
Finally, you will have some gear based on your concept. So there are 6. You get 6 choices, essentially. Each is a choice of 2 items. So for each of the 6, you get this or this. And those are based on your concept. So, for example, the artist gets either a hand fan or a tablet, as we would call it. And, for example, you can have either a rare collection of poems or you can be beautiful, which I think may actually be a bias sculpt rather than just that you're good looking. But it's a talent either way, I'm fairly certain. So stuff like that. It just, rather than saying, here is the complete list of everything in the game, pick the ones you want for your character, it's just like the concepts give you like a guided character creation, essentially. So after you've got your concept, you determine your reputation score, name, appearance. Those are 2 separate steps again. Then finally we get to attribute points. Then you can determine your hit points and mind points, distribute your skill levels, choose a talent, randomly determine your icon and icon talents. Now, that's an interesting one.
That's not like
icons,
an avatar.
as I said, the icons are the gods. And we've got the only other game that I can think of off the top of my head that does this outside of video games is Han. We've got a table that effectively rolls to see which astrological sign you are born under. And that is your patron icon, and you will have a talent based on that icon.
Okay. It's that and Sky and the Elder Scrolls, let's face it.
Yeah, like I said, outside of video games. Elder Scrolls does it, which I'm guessing this is because they house ruled that in their tabletop games, for those who don't know, because it's not that well known. The original Elder Scrolls games, the arena and the setting of Tamriel, the Tamriel was the setting that they used to tabletop roleplay in. So they used it for the video game. Which I've always thought it would be brilliant if they went back and actually, got somebody to write it up and release it as a tabletop role-playing setting so it could be used again. I also suspect that they played Rolemaster, not D&D. When I first found this out, I heard it referred to as playing D&D, but I think that was just down to the idea of all RPGs are D&D because we don't know what we're talking about. Because Rolemaster is the only role-playing game I know in the that I own.
It was 60 odd last I heard, but that's grown.
Oh, it's over 100, but many of them are just D20 system variants. Rolemaster is the only game that has a Nightblade character class.
God, you're right.
Right from the very beginning, Elder Scrolls has always had the Nightblade in.
Yeah.
Makes me suspect. Plus, certain other elements of it as well kind of lean slightly towards Rolemaster, in my opinion. Although Rolemaster with RuneQuest's experience system.
Yes.
So yeah, then you work out your personal problem, your relationships to the other PCs, choose your gear, choose your crew position. And that is character creation in step form.
Okay.
off, let's think about our characters' backgrounds.
Right.
We are obviously going to be from the Third Horizon, because that's the only place we can be from. But you need to be thinking about things like, okay, are you an old family? Are you one of the first come? Or are you a Zenithian family? More recent. The first come have been living in the Horizon for hundreds of years, but have been isolated from each other for a long time. The Zenithians are newcomers who've opened up the trade routes and furthered contact between the systems once again. There is a table for home planet.
I'm tending towards Zenithian at the moment.
I was thinking the same. They seem more inclined to be the explorer sort.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, Mackie, as far as I can tell, it's each individually you pick a background.
No, this is just we're onto the character now. We've done the group. We're now looking at each character gets a background. So we've got a home system table. It's written in the rulebook. It doesn't say you may. It says roll to determine your home planet on table 2.1. Your origin has no mechanical effect. It merely tells you something about who your PC is.
Okay.
So there are 36 star systems, and it's a D6 roll for your home system. There are 5 results and one that is pick one from the map.
Okay.
That is a flaw. First proper criticism of this game. I mean, a lot of this I'm actually reading for the first. I've skim-read this. I'm reading a lot of this for the first time as we go through it. This is a major flaw. If you only have the PDF, that map isn't there.
Yes.
So you get to page 22, you roll a natural 6, and you say, "What bloody map?" I'm picking from a list that doesn't exist. That Modiphius and Fury League is a flaw.
That is.
Might want to address that.
Yeah.
One would hope they realise that. This question
has been asked a few times on their forums.
Yeah.
One would hope they realise that and put the PDF map out either as a very cheap or free add-on.
Yeah, well, I mean, the game's been out. Well, it was nominated for an award in 2017. I don't think it was officially released until 2018. But even so, we're in 2019 now, and that map isn't available as a PDF. So.
See, this is when scans of PDF material comes out.
It's not scanned material. It's created from the original digital file. It's clearly the file that is sent to the printer.
No, I mean, this is where people attack their rule books and scan them.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't feature that map, unfortunately.
That
is a bit of a flaw.
That's weird. That is a very strange omission.
That's an oversight, which I'm willing to forgive because it's a lovely looking game, but it is definitely a flaw. Yeah. Being picky and looking at the bad sides as well as the good sides. No. So the other thing that I should mention is that there is the option to be a humanite. Now, humanites are all first come.
Okay.
Because what they are gene modded. They are people who have been, they've been here for hundreds of years, these races, and then have adapted to the environment. There are 3 types of humanites, each of which gets a talent as a result. One gets pheromones, second one gets resistant, which I'd need to look up to see what it is, but I'm guessing they're just a bit tougher. And the last one get water breathing. They clearly come from a water world.
Okay.
Can we call him?
However,
and call him Kevin.
There are penalties for being a humanite.
Hate you.
And you can if you want to.
Oh, no.
If you play a humanite PC, your starting reputation is halved. Your reputation, by the way, is determined by your upbringing, which is effectively you are going to be either plebeian, stationary, or privileged. Plebeian, not surprising, that's just the regular guys. Stationaries is the name used for those who actually grow up on a space station. Major space stations or asteroids. And the privileged, obviously, are the nobility and the high-ranking bureaucrats. Your Grand Vizier and his family would be privileged.
Okay.
So that determines your initial reputation. Then it's modified by your concept. And if you're a humanite, it's halved.
Right.
Because humanites are not looked on
Yeah.
quite so well. They're not pure blood.
I think personally I wouldn't want for my first character to be something overly complicated. So I'd probably avoid the humanite initially.
I might be tempted to look at a humanite as a second character or backup character, but probably not from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, if we enjoy this and decide to play more of it, I'm quite happy to continue.
Oh, you've gone.
I can hear you.
I couldn't.
Okay,
hang on.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yes.
Yeah, you dropped out and the last sentence was completely in silence.
So yeah, that must I think that must have been at your end.
Okay.
Since Knight could still hear me.
No, that's fine.
Well, that implies it wasn't at mine.
No, that's cool. It's all right. Don't get defensive.
Your upbringing also determines the number of points you get to spend on attributes and the number of points you get to spend on skills. It basically comes down to, if you're plebeian, you have more attributes, less skills, lower reputation. If you're privileged, you have less attributes, more skills, high reputation. And then the stationary is somewhere in between the two. Also determines your starting capital. So, do you want to roll for your home system?
Yeah.
That sounds like a plan.
Right.
Humanite bites like that. I knocked over the bottle I had in my
Right, I got a 1.
4.
Right, okay, let's get
Mecky's rolling.
pad so I can keep track of all this. Let's get a better pen.
Mickey rolled a 6 and needs to pick a planet, but doesn't have the map.
Yeah.
But doesn't have the map. Yeah, this is going to be slightly...
Oopsie. Giggles, Wick, it's cold in here.
Right, what did you roll?
I rolled a 4.
4. Ah, local girl. So yeah, Knight, you are from Algol.
Algol.
Which would keep any Artelsaurian fans happy should they have dropped in to see what we do when we're not playing Witcher, since that's where the original Mechton game was set.
God, yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yep. And Drat, you are from Dabaran.
Deborah.
So, get awkward when we get to Meki.
Mecky's picking a number. He's saying
He's
3.
picking a number. Okay, if you're picking a number and saying 3, then we will say, Meki, that you are from Kur.
Kur. Kur.
And if you are Zenithian, that means probably you're actually from the station itself. So you would be from Coriolis, almost certainly. So
Mr. Flashy Pants.
I'm not gonna ban you from being a plebeian or a privileged if you want to be, but the default there is likely to be stationary, because Coriolis is the obvious choice for Zenithian from there. You all decided on Zenithian, didn't you?
We did, yeah.
We did, yeah. It's fortunate that we've all kind of gone the same route.
Yep. Yes, we're going for the outward looking. He doesn't want to be privileged.
All of this stuff is pretty much RP fodder. Apart from whether you're plebeian, stationary or privileged, nothing else is going to have any real game mechanic effects out of all this. But it is going to be RP fodder, which is something to play with.
I'm bucking for privileged.
It occurs to me that I got the chat up.
Whose chat don't you have up? Because I've got all 3.
I didn't check whether or not the chat was appearing on stream. Just as an up effectively of it. But I have a feeling it should be.
Yes, I must set up to capture chat.
Thank you, Mickey. It's quite small, but it's there. over the top of the HIntPlays tabletop logo.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking over that nice big open pink space where the picture is.
Well, my setup is slightly different to yours.
Fair enough. Ow.
I'm making stuff up now because I've got no idea without actually looking what inhabitants of these worlds refer to themselves as. I may need to change this when I find out, but for the moment I'm noting you down as Drat being Dabarani, Nightbites as Algolian, and Mechiador is Kuan.
Yeah. Can I just anybody calls me Debbie, and they're going to be having will be having words.
Because I've got basically where you've got a big gap on yours to the right of me.
Yeah.
Drat. I've got a couple of notepad things.
Somewhere amongst the tabs I have open, an advert just played, and I have no idea where that came from.
Oh, that's always fun.
So apologies to anyone listening that just heard the advert. No idea where that was.
Right, so, Nightbites.
Yes.
Algol is a planet of rebels, ruined by heavy industry and under draconian consortium.
Oops.
Draconian rebels, you say?
Well, it's under draconian rule from the consortium, which are the corporations. So the rebels presumably are rebelling against the consortium's planet. So that's your geographical background. You may well have left because you want nothing to do with that rebellion, or you may have left because you were a little too involved in that rebellion and decided it was time to be somewhere else, or for one of any number of other reasons.
You're after avoiding
Kua is the centre of the horizon, home to the space station Coriolis. So we already know that's the political centre of the third horizon these days, because the council is based on Coriolis, and there is the Zenithian nobility almost down on the planet in the form of the captain family. Which again, yeah, that's the two obvious options in Kua are privileged on the planet or stationary on Coriolis. But you could be a pleb anywhere, because everywhere there are plebeians. We know this.
You just like saying the word pleb on a regular basis, don't you?
It's fitting.
And finally, Dabaran. Now, I was reading up on Dabaran. You're going to like this.
Not a lot.
Dabaran really should be like almost the default place to play if you really want to do your whole Aladdin, Sinbad, Arabian Nights thing.
Excellent.
It's a barren desert with ravines, seraglios, oasis gardens, and domed palaces.
Wow.
Yay.
And it is the star system that you will be starting in, as I say.
Cool.
So, knowing that, you each need to decide whether you are a plebeian, a stationary, or you are privileged.
I was thinking privileged.
Meki is going to be stationary, but I will, of course, allow Meki to choose.
I think it was privileged from the get-go in my head. I have an idea kicking around for this person.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't have an idea, so remind me again of the difference between the stationary and the privileged.
Privileged are essentially nobility. Stationary, most people raised on major space stations and asteroids. So it's not so much social status like the other two. It's more onto where you came from. So you're definitely coming from Algol, but you could have been raised on the planet itself, being either or privileged, or you could have been raised on an asteroid mining station within the system, or just on a station orbiting Algol itself, or I don't know, I haven't checked yet whether there are other inhabited worlds within that system.
I don't think stationary would fit, but I'm not entirely sure I want to be a plebeian, so that kind of leaves privileged.
Okay.
This could be interesting.
I like the idea of. I'm starting to like the idea of someone that was privileged, but fighting against the consortium, and then having to leave.
Oh, rebelling against mummy and daddy.
Oh God,
in a
it's
big way.
Blake with parental issues.
Wait, I like the idea of Blake with parental issues.
Or like Princess Leia.
Or Princess Leia, yeah. Yes, I like Mickey's. Unfinished business. It's been a while since I've had the chance to play anybody genuinely arrogant.
Closing that window and keep opening it again. I'm just going to move it out way so that I can still see OBS.
You have 3 monitors. You should be able to find enough real estate.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
I mean, I need more real estate.
The monitor over there is providing Sirenscape sound for people on stream. You can't hear it because we're playing over Discord and that's a pain in the arse. However, the people on stream can hear Sirenscape, which is doing some... I'm currently using a Starship setting that I have from Sirenscape, so it's got sort of like the spacey background noise and engine resonance, stuff like that. And an occasional comm voice and user interface sounds that are all a bit Star Trek-y.
Okay.
I thought that would work quite nicely. Then I've also, of course, got the 4 tabs that I have open in Acrobat Reader on that screen as well.
Okay.
And all the chats and VC are on this screen over here. So this screen up here, that has OBS and Discord and the properties for the Notepad to text element on OBS. That is the one that I've just moved out of the way.
Fair enough.
So, know this. In which case, now please write down the following numbers each.
Okie-doke.
For your attribute points, Meki, you will have 14, and the other 2, you will have 13.
No. Okay.
Skill points for Meki will be 10, and for the 2 of you will be 12. Reputation, Meki will have 4, and you 2 will have 6.
Sorry, you broke up on the start of that word.
Reputation.
Reputation, right, okay. Is that 6, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Okie-doke.
Yeah. So, next thing is our concept for the character, which, as I said, you can think of this as sort of like a character creation template or almost a class, but you don't level up in a class. So it would be a class if you then ignored it beyond first level. Just to let you know, the 5 characters that are already in the scenario, which you will be replacing 3 of, we have got a scientist, to be precise, an archaeologist. You've got a pilot with the fighter pilot sub-concept. We've got a soldier with the legionnaire sub-concept. An artist with the courtesan sub-concept, because the makers of this game are fans of Firefly. I find it odd, actually. In the references, they list 3 things for possible inspiration, things to watch, to get into the feel of it. And the third one is Firefly. None of them is Dune.
Hang on.
Based on the Arabian Nights, so we've gone for inspiration with the one that uses China. Not the one that has basically got the Taliban as the good guys.
Yeah. And now I need to watch Dune again. Thanks for that.
Yeah, there
which
you go.
one, the movie or the miniseries?
I haven't seen the miniseries, but the director's cut of the movie is one of my favourite films.
It is good.
I mean,
the miniseries I can recommend. Cool. Very, very good watch.
Cool.
And we have got a ship worker. Though the ship worker is not listing a subconcept for some reason. Let's see whether the other description... He's a machinist. Okay. So that's the characters that it gives us default. If you weren't creating your own, that would be the characters that you'd be either choosing from or me issuing at random. That doesn't mean to say that you have got to create a character that will directly replace one of those. You're going to be replacing these. The closer they feel to one of the characters in there, the easier it is for me to decide which one to replace. And obviously the less you have to do on the relationships. But that doesn't mean that you need to try and do it that way.
I was actually thinking of an archaeologist.
That would be cool. Yeah, you could replace Dr. Wanna quite happily.
Complete with satchel made out of a gas mask bag and a wide-brimmed hat.
And don't forget the twin pistols.
Hot
Yes, don't forget the pistols.
Yep.
Lots and lots and lots of pistols.
Yeah, why limit yourself, however? Have a bullwhip and pistols, and a hat and hot pants.
And some form of t-shirt, I hope, because otherwise those backpack straps are going to chafe something rotten.
Well, you've got options to go with there, you see, whether you're going with the tight fitting or you're going to go with the shirt. If it is the shirt, how many buttons are undone, because that does vary from time to time within the film anyway.
Occasionally from shot to shot, yes. Yeah, good point. But yes, I did loosely have an archaeologist in mind, so if there's one in there that I can sub straight in, that would be ideal.
We have got then.
And I was kind of thinking pilot as well. I wasn't necessarily thinking fighter pilot, but pilot of some sort.
Well, that's cool. There are 3 sub-concepts for pilot. You could just as easily go for driver or freighter pilot. Though if you are going to go for driver, obviously you still need to learn how to fly a ship, otherwise. Meanwhile, have to spell archaeologist correctly live on stream.
Meki is a former male courtesan. Okay.
If it's like more than one
I usually spell archaeology. It's just because I'm a time team fan.
Yes. Archaeologist is Phil. I refuse to be called Philomena. Magic wellies.
Sports book. Okay, so do you want a little bit more information about the pilot sub-concepts before deciding?
Yes, please. Can you tell me a little bit more about the fighter and the freighter pilots? I'm obviously not interested in the driver, because that's not really a pilot.
Yeah, they've just sort of grouped it all together because it kind of makes a bit of sense. So, fighter pilot. You can afford to be cocky and obnoxious because you know that in the cockpit of your fighter you are a god. It's fucking Midas! Apparently, the fighter pilot is Midas! Perhaps your ship is a torpedo boat or a breach pod. Maybe you're a corsair hunter or a dogfighter ace.
I'm a leaf on the wind.
Freighter pilot. You travel the horizon's trade routes in a freighter. The dark between the stars doesn't scare you. You could be a free trader, a dust trawler, a bulk hauler pilot, or an ice miner. Merge the two together, you become an elite dangerous commander.
Yes! Oh, you know who it is. It's Flashheart. From Blackadder Goes Forth, the fighter pilot.
That was Midas, I thought we were talking about.
Well, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a degree of Flashheart in him, in my mind. I don't know if anyone else saw it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, actually, yes.
Like young Flashheart.
Everything but the thigh slapping.
Yes! That's only because the camera doesn't go low enough.
Cam!
And Meki leaning towards the male courtesan.
Yeah, he's also boobed, so give him a sec.
Yeah, I think I will go with the fighter pilot.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm sorry, you're giving me something bigger than a fighter? Great, hope everyone's strapped in, because we're still flying it like a fighter.
Excellent. Great.
I remember when I was in the Air Cadets going up in a trainer when the pilot was a fast jet pilot.
Oh.
Sorry, we're off the ground. Great, hard bank.
Oh, jeez. That's okay.
Okay, so while we wait for Meki to pop back. I will give you your reputation modifiers.
Okay.
No modifier for pilot, so your reputation so far, Knight, is still 6. Assuming these are in alphabetical order. Yep. Right. Scientist gives you a +1 reputation. So, Drat, you have a reputation of 7.
Woohoo.
Very
I'm
nice.
letting down my mods at the moment, so I'll tot them at the end.
Your key attribute will be wits.
Is that me?
And, yeah. And as a pilot, it will be agility. That makes sense. Let me just quickly check whether there is a note about key attributes doing anything other than being useful. Right, yeah. Your attributes have to be between 2 and 4, except your key attribute, which may be 5 if you wish.
Right.
Have to be, but it can be. So that key attribute does make a difference in terms of you get a +1 to the possible max.
Translation. How many people are just going to sling 5 levels into key attribute and then
But
sort everything else out?
5 into key attribute and then decide what else they're doing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I will at this point run through what the attributes are.
Okay.
There are only 4 attributes in this game. These are strength, agility, wits, and empathy. They pretty much do what it says on the tin. Strength is your raw physical strength and physique. Agility, your overall body control and motor skills. Wits is your intelligence, alertness, and sharpness of mind. And empathy is your charisma, empathy, and ability to manipulate others.
Ooh.
First, take a moment to talk about the game system now that we've got some attributes to connect it to.
Okay.
This is a dice pool-based system. It uses d6s. And whenever you make a roll, you are rolling a number of dice equal to your attribute plus, if applicable, your skill. And you're looking for 6s. The game only cares about 6s.
Okay.
So to succeed, you need to roll at least 1 6. Critical success, you have to roll at least 3 6s. Now, I did look at this and think about the numbers a little bit and came to the conclusion that while that is workable, I don't really like it. We'll see how it... We'll play with it. We'll play it straight initially, at least. But I'm not overly happy with those numbers. For starters, they are ignoring, quite deliberately, one of the biggest advantages of a dice pool-based system, which is variability of success. Successes should be better than 1 success. 3 successes should be better than 2 success. 4 successes should be better than 3 success. In this, 1 and 2 are identical. Anything 3 or above is identical.
Ah.
There are specific mechanics which relate to the number of 6s that you rolled. But as a general rule, it's just 1 or 2, 3 or more. I don't like that. I feel that should be a bigger difference. But that's something that can easily be not even house ruled in, but just interpreted by the GM in terms of narration. So you can easily get around that. 2 players have a go at doing a thing. One rolls 1 6, the other rolls 2 6. Give the one who rolled 2 a slightly better result, even though the game system doesn't say you should. That's easy enough to get around.
Yeah.
Secondly, the lack of a target number or a fixed target number removes a lot of the versatility from a dice pool-based system. Again, going back to World of Darkness, which we mentioned earlier, the original World of Darkness game system and the original Shadowrun game system both used a dice pool with a variable number of dice in the pool, a variable target number, and as a result, you've got a very versatile system to cover whatever needed it to cover. Yep. Once you take out one of those elements, once you either standardize the pool or standardize the target number, you remove some of that versatility. Yeah. If I want to change the number of the difficulty of something in this game, I have to add or remove the number of dice you're rolling. And that's as far as that goes. And that's not to me, a good, versatile system. It's playable, it's quick, but it can get a bit annoying. If you want to reliably get a critical success, statistically, you have to be rolling 18 dice. Because you've got a 1 in 6 chance of getting a 6, and you need 3 6s. That's 1 in 18.
Yeah. Normal people would have to roll 18 dice.
Drow just need to roll 3.
4.
So in a game where the best of the best of the best, maximum attribute, maximum skill is rolling 10 dice, nobody can rely on a critical.
No.
Without additional dice coming from model.
Okay.
Without having played it yet, that's my first concern about this game system. This is one of the things that stopped me from buying Mutant Year Zero before I picked this up, because I've been looking at the Year Zero game, which uses the same game system. This is known as the Year Zero system because it came from Zero. I really like the look of Mutant Year Zero, but I don't like this game system particularly. So I'm really happy also to be giving it a go, to be playing it, see works better than I expect it to. And it certainly, if it doesn't work better than I expected to, would be salvageable, but it's just how much house rule will take to salvage it. I did a few test rolls in Fantasy Grounds. I rolled 5 dice, which seemed like a reasonably ordinary, not your main skill, but the sort of roll people might be making a lot, based on 2 to 4 in attributes. And a skill level of 2 is kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm not a beginner, but I know how to do this. Great, I know. And I made about 5 test rolls using 5 dice, and I didn't get a success on any of them.
Okay.
Now, admittedly, that's my dice. Even in Fantasy Grounds, my dice are terrible. We know this.
Aiming for 6s,
but it did concern me. You can expect NPCs to be massively incompetent in this game. So, make it all. Let me quickly run back over what you missed, which was just what the attributes are. The attributes are strength, agility, wits, and empathy.
So, for the heart of thinking, will you elaborate on what wits covers?
Hang on a moment. I'm just going to actually write the attributes up on screen. Good measure.
That's probably a plan.
Should have thought to do this before. Didn't.
Yeah, it happens.
My multitasking is not really up to typing and talking at the same time. I'll end up typing whatever I'm talking. And as it is, we've apparently got the less common attribute of strength. It's a lot like strength, but with less ends.
Strength.
Yes, thank you, Mecky.
If you get the typo when correcting a typo, then if you notice this, notice.
Right, okay. So wits, wits is...
Which, thanks for
in
that.
In its brief description, wits, well, my teeth don't fit today.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Is intelligence, alertness, and sharpness of mind is wits.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm thinking how to
house
drop my
rule
empathy.
that I'm not going to be using initially, but might be using by the end of the quick play, by the way. Each skill in this is tied to an attribute.
Right.
Again, if you've got separate skills and attributes, mix and match. Gets you a better game system. So that's likely... I'm going to start out just rolling things exactly as it is. But by the end of the quick play, we're likely to have already got to the point where I'm saying, well, okay, I know about this gun, so make me a wits roll using your armed combat
So basically
skill, rather than...
Yeah. So how Deadlands ended up, how Witcher ended up, which is, although there is generally a governing stat, there will be occasions where...
A little bit of mix and match is going to happen.
Yeah.
There aren't many skills in this game.
Well, the attributes either, to be fair.
If you've got the character sheet, I know you have,
Yeah.
and I did link forward earlier.
Have?
There are 2 columns of skills. Let me see if I should show this.
Scrolling.
Let's try a quick window capture. Do I? Okay. So I'm going to need to create a new window capture because I don't currently have a window capture for Acrobat Reader, and I also don't have a right arm because it's got a cat's claw in it. It's very difficult to detach a cat from you when your other hand is trying to stop your heavy rulebook from falling off the desk. So let me see.
Right, I've just bunged mine up on my stream.
Okay. That's not a very useful view at the moment, but if I put it to set to width, scroll down a bit. Hidden all the players, but at least...
Yeah,
here we have the
that's
skills.
pretty much it. Don't ask to see Knight for the next couple of minutes.
On the left, we have got general skills. Dexterity, force, infiltration, manipulation, melee combat, observation, ranged combat, and survival. The general skills, anybody can make a roll on those. So if you have no points in it at all, you can roll just on the stat. So everybody can try and shoot a gun using their agility. If you have points in ranged combat, you're better at it. On the right, we have advanced skills. Armed, Datagen, Kurgi, Mystic Powers, Pilot, Science, and Technology. That's it. That's the entire set of skills for the game. It's a streamlined system. It's not the kind of game I tend to write, but it works for what it is. So that's fine. And those ones, the advanced skills, if you don't have at least 1 point in it, you don't get a chance.
Okay.
So you can't try and fly the spaceship without having any skills, points in pilot.
So
I might allow you to do something more simple. I mean, I would be inclined to allow a roll on agility to slam the ship out of the way of that asteroid that's about to smeg it. It would not be you stay around the asteroid. It would be you change direction. Maybe if you roll high enough, you minimize the damage or even miss the asteroid altogether. But the ship's now out of control. That kind of thing.
Do we have a guide, by the way?
By the way, I would also like to point out for anybody in the HIntPlays channel that I cloned my bot before we started playing. So notices like the one that have just come up, feel free to completely ignore it because they're from my other channel. They're not from the HIntPlays channel. They're from HintFishy.
Yeah.
In this case, actually, that link is a perfectly valid one. That's a link to DriveThruRPG with my affiliate link on it. So even if you ignore the place it initially sends you, which is the stuff I wrote, I would still get a little bit of cash if you buy something off DriveThruRPG.
I need to get my affiliate links into notices as well. I'm just a bit shy
I think
about it.
About twice I've ever actually withdrawn money from DriveThruRPG, and that was sales rather than affiliate stuff. It all goes. I buy so many RPGs,
buy stuff, yeah.
and so many supplements. It just all comes. Oh look, I can take a few pence off the next thing I buy, and that's the way it works.
Do we have a range of stats? Because I'm seriously considering one, and I want to know if this means that I'm basically hospitalised.
I think Fishy said have to be between 2 and 4.
Was it 2 and 4?
As I did say, the number of points you have to spend on your attributes came from your upbringing.
Yes.
The attributes must be in the range of 2 to 4, apart from your key attributes.
Yeah, no
which
problem.
Is from your concept. That can be 5 if you wish.
Yeah, I glitched on whether it was 1 to 4 or 2 to 4.
Let's go back to Meki's concept. So, let me give you the description that they've got of the courtesan, so you can decide whether you like a courtesan. Well-versed in the arts of pleasure, you live to share them with others. Could be one of the legendary courtesans of Arlam's temple, a Dabaran Mithra, a Hyrule from the Pillar Quadrant, or perhaps an Algolian food artist. It's not by the fact that it can be hooker, even high class.
No, you're more into the geisha end of things, aren't you?
It could be geisha. It could be courtesan. It could be almost anything you can think of that might fit, really. It could be, the same category. This is a subcategory of artist. We have musician and poet are the other two. It could be argued that there is some crossover there between courtesan and musician or poet in the giving of pleasure. But you can also combine the three together. You could have, for example, let's say a musician playing your appropriate musical instrument, while a poet reads poetry to go with it, and perhaps a courtesan dancing along with. That would give you all three artists in a single experience, and hopefully plenty of pleasure to be derived.
Yeah. Makes sense.
That's good to me.
Other things mentioned, we have techie hacker. Right, that would be, in this game,
A person that hacks Strut's bot.
Yeah. If you could not, that would be appreciated.
that would be, as I recall, a data spider. So the data spider, the factions that rule the horizon and information guides that. So the factions rule the horizon and information guides their actions. If you can control this information, you will be powerful. A simple enough equation. But if you are one of the few who have figured it out. I can read. I promise. I can read.
I'm just relieved it's not me this week.
Months now. You are a data spider, carefully weaving a complex neck of data.
What's a complex neck?
Today. Yeah, it's a bit like a simple neck, but more complex. Gathered from the most obscure sources. You might not be the sharpest dressed or have a single bear to your name, but you have information, and information is power.
I did just mishear that as beard.
You've got...
Hey, don't be dissing beards.
No, you may not have a beard to your name. I mean, obviously a beard...
I'm sure it's supposed to have a nice rolly R on the end. It's B-I-R-R. I'm sure it's supposed to have a nice rolly R on the end, the kind that I can't do when my teeth don't fit. Yeah, that could be it. Davkus has got it. A complex neck is one with more chins. So yeah, you could be an analyst, gathering and compiling data from many different sources and systems. You could be a correspondent, working for the Bulletin or some other smaller news organization, collecting and disseminating information. You could be a data djinn, spending your days by the computer wherever you are. Careful whisper, you can control and direct complex systems. That's the hacker. So yeah, a data djinn very much is your decker in this game system. So we also had a suggestion for lost the blazing comment now. Well, spy would probably come under. I mean, it could come under data spider correspondent, but more likely it would come under agent, since we have an agent, as I recall, which I now can't find. Sworn we had agent. These are in alphabetical order. Why is that not? Maybe agent was a sub-thing and it was of something else. Or maybe they changed its name. Since looking through here, we find operative, which I don't remember from the list, but I do remember agent. So I think agent may have changed its name to operative.
Oopsie.
Operative has the sub-concepts of assassin, guardsman or guardswoman, and spy. So, I'll stab. Spy probably comes under the spy sub-concept.
Sounds
Just
reasonable.
guessing, but I think it probably does. So, apart from botanical interest, you probably all of them are available here. I'm going to go back and check that list of concepts again, because I want to know if I'm losing my mind or if it definitely...
So a hacker with moves.
No, operative. There it is. It's operative in the list. Where did I get agent?
Oh.
Strangeness abounds.
So that was entirely me, not the game. Just being a fool. No, where the hell I got agent? I mean, maybe I was thinking of a completely different game. It's a bad thing to do when you're trying to run this one.
Yes.
So, yes, indeed, Mekidor. Courtesan gets you places, Datagen earns you the credits. You can, of course, kind of cross-play, essentially, between them. You can be
And you
a data spider with courtesan skills, or the other way around. Nothing.
breathe.
Excuse me, no, it's all right. I'm just reading the chat.
Oh, Mickey.
I'm sorry.
Controlling a computer by means of an external device that isn't a keyboard. Whoever would think of
Yeah,
such
you
Who
see,
would-
you're
who would do
fine.
such a thing?
You're
Yeah.
fine on that. You're used to tapping away on the drums. Interpretive dance in order to access a data haven, however, is... Yeah, my brain's just giving me nothing.
Yeah, but hacking Black Ice, it looked like he was at a rave.
Yeah!
Right. You may recall that I said there were some concept skills
Yes.
when I quickly described the concepts. Each concept has a number of skills, each subconcept has a number of skills associated with it. When you are dividing up your skill points, you can put up to 3 in each of your concept skills. Anything else, you can only put 1 in. So you can take any skill you want, but you can only be a novice in things that aren't relevant to your concept.
Okay.
So a courtesan who could hack, for example, would only get 1 point in the data gen skill, because it's not one of their concept skills. On the other hand, a data spider who has some courtesan abilities actually would do pretty well. Concept skills: manipulation, culture, dexterity, and observation. Datagen concept skills: datagen, manipulation, observation, and science. 2 of them cross over.
Yeah.
You've still got manipulation and observation as a datagen. Certain manipulation is as in other people. So let me just jump to the skills descriptions and double check this. Yeah, manipulate, empathy, lies, persuasion, threats, charm, or seduction. There are many ways to make someone see things your way.
I think Mecca's got a character going there.
Yep, very much so.
Yep, we can indeed go with a data spider with, courtesan on the side, so to speak.
Courtesan and tendencies.
Right, in which case, make a note of that. Yeah. I'm assuming from what you were saying earlier on, you're going to go with the datagen sub-concept, which is the hacker type.
Sounds like.
Okay. Wasn't an enter button. That was a completely different thing. And there's an 8 there. Okay, I can't read and I can't type, but other than that, I'm doing really well this evening. I'm glad we're only creating characters.
Just as well.
It could be worse.
It's worse.
Oh, dear, oh dear, oh dear. Right, so reputation, no reputation modifier for a data spider. Key attribute is wits. So, for 2 of the 3 of you, therefore, when you are dividing up your attribute points, which I've already issued to you, you can put up to 5 in wits and 2 to 4 in anything else. And those attribute points, of course, was 14 for Meki, 13 for everyone else. So, sort out your attributes, please.
Sorted.
Done it.
So wishing I had a good countdown-y type sound effect on this. Best I can do though is a dramatic note.
Yeah. I went with...
Right, so...
Yeah, I went with strength 2.
Mm-hmm.
Agility 3.
Okay.
Wits 5.
So,
Empathy 3.
this is, for anyone who's read my recent blog post, this is a narrative system. Although we have a table for skill levels telling us roughly what each skill represents, running from novice to master, we do not have a similar thing attributes. We know attributes run from 2 to 4 for most people, with up to 5 if it's your concept attribute, but we don't have a attribute E is average or attribute 2 means you can lift X amount type table. So as far as I can tell, therefore, we are pretty much just looking at, don't expect these to directly correlate to things in the game's real life.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, this is a narrative tool just for how many. Hit points and mind points. Hit points are equal to your strength plus agility, and as you might expect, are the amount of damage you can take before fall over, wave your legs in the air, and start rolling a new character.
Just don't sneeze on me, okay, guys?
Oh God!
Don't sneeze anywhere near the pilot.
What's yours?
Not good.
Yeah, neither's mine.
Right. Mind points are the mental equivalent, so they are degraded by stress. And this being a game featuring the supernatural in many respects, probably all kinds of fun stuff.
Did you say total or average? Because you sort of bled out a bit.
Total. It
Right.
is the total of.
Faded out, not bled out. Where the hell was my brain going?
You were already thinking about things that can reduce your
I tell you
mind
what,
points when you.
ever since I found out this afternoon that you can substitute blood for eggs in a recipe, my brain is now just completely...
How much
Confused
blood per egg?
I'm not sure I want you to know that.
It's actually different amounts depending on whether you're using whites, yolks, or whole eggs, and different sizes.
Did you send me the link you got that from? Because that would be really handy to know.
I will see if I can dig it out, yeah. Recipes,
Before
there
I
are
go any further,
recipes.
For a game I'm planning to
Yes.
run.
I'm glad you said that.
There are recipes on the net for it.
Good lord.
I'm kind of looking at this critical injuries table now and wondering, serrated kidney, for example, 41 on the critical injuries table. So yeah, I can see here what the effects on you are of a lacerated kidney. I'm just wondering how many mind points the people around you lose, seeing you have your kidneys lacerated.
Most of them.
It depends if you're doing the lacerating.
There is that. There is that.
Yeah,
Right,
how many
so-
mind points did you lose? I don't know. Is Cthulhu Rising from Relay yet or not?
You can have a maximum of 9 mind points as a starting character. The cost for seeing Cthulhu Rising from Mulier, 23 mind points.
I've got 8.
Right, so we're on to skills now.
Okay.
So
What
I
were our
will run
concept
through
skills?
your concepts, each of you,
Sorry.
and let you know your concept skills are. So, as I've already mentioned, but I will say again and type in chat for record, the data spider has vision, manipulation, observation, finally, science.
For science.
But science just on its own like that. It needs an exclamation mark and it
It
needs
does.
to be science.
Possibly with a little echo or reverb or something.
Possibly. Possibly.
Science.
Right.
Science!
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Kind of like that.
Yep.
It's definitely in the Nile Empire, but for Torg, that's what science is all about.
Excellent!
Yeah.
I like that.
I just so want to run Torg. I just need preferably 6 players.
Yeah, I can see that. So if
Right.
anybody
For
wants
a
to play
fighter
talk,
pilot. A fighter pilot also has datagen.
Okay.
Unsurprisingly has pilot.
Good.
A fighter pilot also unsurprisingly has ranged combat
Okay.
and has technology.
What does that cover? Because that seems fairly sort of wide range.
All these skills are pretty wide ranging, to be honest, because there are so few skills, they kind of have to be. But I will run through what the skills are in a moment. I'm just going to dish out the skills for an archaeologist first, though.
Okay.
You have culture,
Culture.
observation, science, survival.
Survival.
There is definitely a touch of the Lara Jones or Indiana Croft about these guys because they have survival.
Culture, observation, and survival. Okay.
Culture, observation, science, and survival.
Oh, science. For science.
Yeah, your scientist might need science. It's just a
Science is now in all caps with an exclamation mark.
excellent.
I'm thinking
So,
of editing
if
the
you've all got the character
sheet.
sheet, you can all see the skills list. So you can put up to 3 in each of your concept skills.
Right.
Any other skills, you can only put 1 in. And the number of points that you have to put into them, 12 for you two who are privileged, and 10 for the stationary character.
Right.
So let me look at the advanced skills and confirm a little bit about what they do. Technology. Others may view technical gadgets as almost magical, but you understand their inner workings. The skill is used when handling machines, mechanics, electronics, and explosives. You can repair anything from a small gadget to a spaceship. This skill is also used when blowing things up.
Okay. I cottoned onto the blowing shit up there.
Culture.
For my high-class rebellious terrorist,
Oh,
blowing
no.
shit up sounds fun.
Sounds fun. Yeah.
Excellent. Culture. Fish.
Culture. You are a person of wisdom and with insight into a wide array of subjects.
Yeah,
you
but
have
what
studied
about
the
the
diverse
character?
cultures and peoples of the horizon and know of their traditions, faiths, and superstitions. You are also familiar with their home planets, beings, and animals. Test culture to see if you can recall something advanced, like the proper greeting among the Sogoi of Kua, the trade routes across the Salam Plains on Algol, or if Bokor can be driven off through prayer. If you have access to old books, databases, or the Foundation's info logs, you get a positive model.
Okay.
Data gen, as one might expect, is basically hacking. Most computers are voice-operated, but interaction through touchpads, data stylus, or via the user's cybernetics is not uncommon. People in the horizon can use basic data systems, but advanced operations require a data gen test. For example, entering protected systems, modifying or writing new programs, or counteracting spyware and attack memes.
The He's getting vocal.
The darkness between the stars has turned up.
Oh, he's just off the corner of the screen.
I'm slightly concerned about medicurgy.
Yeah.
It sounds like medicine with
It is basically med.
dab of mysticism.
Well, this is a mystic setting, so it is Medicare with a touch of mysticism. Mysticare.
Yes.
Having this skill means you're trained in the healing arts, how to care for the ill and how to treat psychic maladies. Skillful medicurges, medicurges also perform cosmetic surgery and bionic sculpting.
Medicurds, that's like lemon curd.
Yeah.
Would you have any objection to, because I can only put a point into each, taking mystic powers and medicurgy?
Right, let's look at mystic powers. I mean, I know what it's going to do. It's going to do mystically powered shit. Right, let's have a quick look.
Like the culture element.
Lemon curd doing it is absolutely lovely. If you don't have it over there, then you should change country
Lemon curd's
immediately.
lovely. Lime curd is lovely as well.
Mystic powers. In the last few years, reports of mystics, people with special powers, have started to surface. Action didn't take long. Among the religious cults, mystics have either been murdered or worshipped as heralds of the icons, depending on the cult's belief. The Bulletin's newscasts on Coriolis have reported from council meetings on the highest political level debating the legitimacy of mystical powers. To acquire the skill when creating your PC, you must pick the subconcept mystic.
Sorry, no.
You can, however, acquire the skill during play, regardless of concept. This means that dormant powers within you suddenly manifest themselves. Each mystic power counts as a separate talent.
Hello, Chrono Magistrate, by the way.
You can all do, however. Yeah, they probably would, Chrono Magistrate. Oh, I don't know. Nothing wrong with an urge now and then.
So, was
Depends
that...
how you satisfy the urge, I guess.
Did that lop out both Mystic Powers and Metacurgy? Awful name.
No, Metacurgy is absolutely fine. You can
Okay.
have that.
Right then. Okay.
Infiltration, as in what skill would it be, Mickey, at all? Oh, no, it is a skill, of course, yes.
It is a skill.
Infiltration, yes. Avoiding confrontation by sneaking around the enemy is often the wiser choice. Test infiltration when you want to move unnoticed, so it's stealth.
What is dexterity cover? Is that things like picking locks and...
Dexterity is jumping, climbing...
Running, jumping, climbing trees. Right.
Yeah, running, jumping, climbing trees, to quote Eddie Izzard. When you jump, climb, sprint, or perform an action that demands speed or coordination, you test dexterity. It's just kind of a catch-all athletics, climbing, running.
Okay, that leaves me 3 points to spend.
Lucky you, I blew through all mine. I'm now kind of, well, should I possibly take one of
Sure,
mine
what
down?
are you going to lower?
Yeah, I haven't put any points in ranged combat yet.
What is this thing you call ranged combat? Yeah, that's a point.
And,
if I want to be
and that's when I can put 3 points in. And I have 3 points to spend, and more skills I want to split between.
Agility was one of the attributes. So the dexterity skill is rolled using agility.
It's a bad idea given the character background, but I'm going to have to go with 0 Metacurgy.
Yeah, interesting point in this game. There is no spot hidden. There is an observation skill, but you do not roll it to spot hidden things.
Okay, what does observation cover then?
Observation.
Not wishing to sound dense.
An adventurer in the Third Horizon must always be vigilant, or she won't live long. You test observation to spot someone sneaking up on you, which is an opposed roll against their infiltration. You can also test the skill when you spot someone or something at a distance if you wish to know more. Don't roll it to see that hidden thing. Instead, the way hidden things work in this game is quite simply, if you say you're looking in the right place, I tell you it's there.
Oh.
There's none of this, I search the desk for a secret compartment, roll me search, as something like, say, D&D might do. Okay. Instead, it's I search the desk for a secret compartment. Okay, you mess around for a few minutes and find a secret compartment. There you find it. There's not a roll for that.
Is technology basically engineering?
Technology is the use and repair of all kinds of technological gadgets, yeah. Whether it be internal combustion engines, electronics, or bombs.
Fair play. Okay, so I've knocked my observation down the point. Yeah, you're going to want technology. Ranged combat. For me.
Ranged combat is for shooting things.
Yes.
Technology was when I can put 3 points in.
Yes, technology was one you can put 3 points in, yeah.
So was ranged combat.
Yep. Apparently they train their fighter pilots to blow shit up.
I have taken dexterity and ranged combat. I have no comment at all about whether or not I'll be swinging around on a bullwhip.
Definitely Lara Jones, isn't it?
Yes.
Question. With a bullwhip, if you're stood at bullwhip's length away from someone, is that melee or ranged combat? Because you're using effectively a melee.
It's melee.
It's an interesting question.
There is a melee combat skill there, which is on strength.
Yeah.
Technically, would be a melee skill with a greater reach, melee attack with a greater reach than a normal melee attack, sort of similar to a polearm.
Yeah, it just means your attack distance is different. You just need to know your range.
Or is it the ballista attack with a rapier, which actually has one of the longest reaches of any melee attack going?
I am never facing you if you pick up a rapier. Forget it. You'll be lunging from halfway across the bloody gym.
Yeah, I would be able to stab somebody in the next town. It's never going to happen, though, because it requires, far more so than longswords, fighting with a rapier requires coordination. And that is the thing I have never had.
I'm just looking forward to poleaxe.
So I used to do that. I used to fence.
Oh, you did, didn't you? Yes.
Yeah. And in between it, he, in between selling stolen goods, sometimes he also messed about with the rapier.
Fair enough. Okay. Currently, as it stands, I'm packing Culture 3, Observation, Science and Survival at 2, and then a point each in Metacurgy, Dexterity and Ranged Combat.
Right. Okie dokie.
Which seems
your
reasonable.
concepts...
Meki would like to know what you roll for untrained. Oh, I'm pointing. You can't see.
Skill rolls in this are always attribute plus skill. If it's a general skill, you can roll the attribute on its own without any points in it. If it's an advanced skill, you have to have at least 1 point in the skill to be. But you're always rolling it with the appropriate attributes. So data gen, you'd be rolling a number of dice equal to your wits plus points in data gen. Unless you have 0 in data gen, in which case you stand there looking confused. Manipulation, on the other hand, trying to convince somebody of something, you would be rolling empathy plus your points in manipulation. And if you have no points in manipulation, you'd just be relying on raw.
Would be nice to have a flash somewhere. Oh yes, they are in advanced. They could write that smaller. I mean, I've got it in a fairly big window.
Yeah.
So for something like
the general skills are on the left on the character sheet, and the advanced skills on.
So for dexterity, you can make a dexterity roll without having the skill.
For anyone who didn't see it previously. Yes. So these skills here: dexterity, force, manipulation, melee combat, observation, ranged combat, and survival. Those are general skills. Anybody can roll them whether they have points in them or not. And on the other side, command, culture, datagen, metacurgy, mystic powers, pilot, science, and technology can only be rolled if you have at least 1 level of those skills.
I'm really trying to work out how I can get a point into command, but I can't figure it out because I don't want to drop anything else.
Just to let you know, the 3 points that you can get up to, level 1 is considered novice, 2 points is capable, and 3 points is competent. You can't start as experienced master, but the system tops out at 5. So if you could start with your skills higher than 3, with a system that tops out at 5, that starts getting a little bit silly.
Yeah.
It's like, where do you go from here? Why am I even
culture.
adventuring? I should have retired by now because I am effectively God.
Yes, I'm competent at culture. I can make yogurt with the best of them.
So,
I think I'm happy with my point distribution.
What have you got?
Let's start with the scientist, because I've already got that page open. And you get to pick one of 3 talents from your concept.
Oh dear, that was a bit higher than I expected.
You can either be, and I will look up these talents to give you further information, but if you're totally not interested in one of them, I obviously won't bother looking it up. I suspect I'm only going to look up one.
Gimme.
You can either be a field metacurge, you can be a gearhead, or you can come from a wealthy family.
Wealthy family?
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Sorry.
So let me just look up what wealthy family does for you.
I love how wealthy family is a talent.
Yep.
It was a knack to be born into this particular family.
Talents cover basically any kind of cheaty bits in this game. So cybernetics are a talent, biosculpts are a talent.
Yeah.
The power granted you by whichever icon you were born under is a talent. Everything is a talent if it's not a skill or an attribute. So, I'm looking on the wrong page. But this is alphabetical order. Where is that talent? That talent is in the list of talents, not the list of cybernetic abilities. General talent. Wealthy family. There it is. You can use the rumors of your family's vast riches to give yourself a +2 to manipulation in any situation where the GM deems it relevant. Whether the rumors are true or not doesn't matter. You can only choose this talent if you come from a privileged background, which of course you do.
I do. Okay.
And as mentioned previously, the way modifiers work in this, that would be an extra 2 dice to roll.
Okay.
So your manipulation is currently rolling at what?
Just my empathy.
Before you do that.
So empathy.
3. So if you can rely on your wealth or rumors of wealth to help rolling 5 dice instead.
I can deal with that. I nearly took manipulation, but again, I couldn't work out what to ditch. Observation, if
observation
is spotting them,
as would be expected, it is for spotting stuff, but it's not for finding hidden things. So it's the spot part of the skills from D&D 3rd edition without the search.
Okay.
Searching would just be if you search to the right place, you find it. But spotting that guy with hiding over there with a gun, that still comes under observation. Commonly rolled as opposed roll against somebody else's infiltration, where whoever gets the higher number of 6s wins.
So spotting that blip on the radar, spotting that defensive turret as I'm flying down the trench.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that's
I'll leave
shooting
that
at you.
point there.
Certain hidden things I would be inclined to roll for if it's not fully hidden, if you see what I mean. If it could be spotted, I would allow for a roll on that. So, for example, if there is a letter sticking out of a book, slightly sticking out of a book, it's technically hidden in the book, but as far as I'm concerned, that would be an observation roll. However, also the way that the game states it would be the way it would work, because if you say I'm looking in the book, you'll find the letter. And if there's no sign of it at all, then you wouldn't have got a roll anyway. Let me see. More talents. Coming back through, we find fighter pilots next.
Okay.
Right. As a pilot, you have one of the following. 0G training, so specialist, or you can have a targeting scope, which is a cybernetic. Let me have a quick look and see what they actually do. 0G training gives you... I've forgotten now. Exo specialist. I'll tell you what it means in a minute.
Okay.
I think it's basically bonuses with using vac suits. 0G training gives you a +2 to dexterity when in 0G. Exo Specialist gives you +2 to both dexterity and force. It says dexterity force, but it's going to apply to both. When handling an exo of some kind. Oh, so actually, yeah, it's a full-on exoskeleton. You can indeed, with the Exo Specialist talent, get +2 dice when uttering the challenge. Get away from her, you.
Oh, you just desperately want a power loader. With guns. Lots and lots of guns.
Yeah.
Well, there are battle lectures in this.
True.
They exist.
The third option was a targeting scope. Does that
third
work
option
both
is a cybernetic implant targeting scope, yes. So let me look up what the targeting scope
You
does.
need the noise from the $6 Million Man. As a,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, for starters, it makes that noise no matter what.
Yeah.
One of your eyes has been enhanced with a targeting scope. Makes it easier to hit with firearms, +1 to ranged combat, short range and above. Does not work for quick shots. Without actually looking it up, as far as I can tell, because there's no separate skill for it, ranged combat, no. Ranged combat would be used for shooting things in a spaceship as well, because you're still firing a firearm.
I'm guessing that because it gives me the ranged combat as a pilot.
Yeah, it makes sense that ranged combat applies for the weapons, and this is going to be any ranged combat.
So
I personally, as a GM, I will allow that. I'd be inclined to say that throwing something, playing basketball type throwing something, rather than hitting someone on the head with a rock and killing them type throwing something, probably be a dexterity check rather than ranged combat check. And I would allow the targeting scope to apply in that situation as well. And maybe that people would tell me I'm wrong and that you should roll ranged combat to try and get it all in a hoop. But I personally think it comes under dexterity.
Can't believe I just moved Fish's window slightly so people could see Pippin better.
What? We're going to have...
He's a big old thing, is Pips.
He hasn't been fed in 20 minutes. He's very unhappy.
I will take the targeting scope, please.
Okay.
Meki was querying cybernetic implants.
No. That I have found so far anyway, they're effect for cybernetics in this game.
So no social.
So we do not
legalization.
have, we don't have people going cyber psycho, and we don't have people looking very warily at you because you're covered in chrome. But you also aren't going to have that much cybernetics in this game because they're talents. You can only get one at the beginning of the game if you're lucky. Maybe two, I suppose, because you get your concept talent. If you get one there and then you get a talent after that, you might be able to get cybernetic now. From equipment, there's some cybernetics in the equipment as well, which effectively gives you another talent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, talents available to a data spy. Make it up. You can have faction stand, which I haven't looked up, but I'm guessing gives you some kind of recognition with one of the factions. Judge of character or third eye.
Okay.
So what the heck do any of them do?
Everybody else has
Third eye.
it easy.
You have the ability to... Sorry?
Everyone else has it easy. Becky, no.
Third eye, you have the ability to sense an ambush, and once per session you can avoid the effects of being surprised. The talent also gives you a constant +2 to observation when trying to detect a sneak attack or an ambush. Okay, third eye has its uses. Faction standing. Thank you, Kat. You belong to a faction or a gang and can use its reputation to get a +2 to manipulation when trying to scare or threaten someone, given that the person you are threatening knows of the faction and that faction has some influence in the location where you are. I don't know whether we're suffering here from translation problem. This could have fallen down the language gap, because we're using the factions on the council are simply called factions, and we're also using the term faction just to refer to another faction that is not one of the factions. So it may well be they were a different word in Swedish, or it may be that this is just always the way it has been. But either way, we're talking faction with a small f here, just some group or other that you have standing with. It's the equivalent of Drut's wealthy family, but it could be a hacker conglomerate or a street gang, a criminal gang, or a well-respected circle of journalists or something like that. A data provider for faction stand. And what the hell was that third one? Judge of character. I'm going to take a wild stab that it gives you a bonus when judging characters. You can tell if someone is lying or telling the truth without testing manipulation. It takes about a minute, and you can't tell any details, only whether the person is lying or not. Half-truths also read as lies. Each use gives the Games Master 1 darkness point. Ooh. As I said earlier, darkness points let me do things. Well, actually, we'll talk a little bit about darkness points again now, because I also said earlier that I was going to explain about praying to the icons, and I haven't done it. Now you know about your attributes and skills and how you roll. You need to know about praying to the icons. Whenever you make a roll, you can immediately, should you wish, straight after it, choose to pray to the icons. If you do, you can re-roll all of the dice that are not sixes.
Okay.
The downside to this is that whenever you do that, I get a darkness point. So I really like this rule, because it's not just this is a mystic setting, look, there are mystics who have special powers. Everybody has a mystic thing they can do, which has a genuine mechanical effect, can immediately help you. Does also bring on the darkness. To me, that really adds to the feel of this being supernatural, not just science. That's one of the rules that I really like.
Yeah, tough fishy.
Of course, Drat will never use it.
I might.
Because Drat will critical on every roll anyway. And if she only has 2 dice.
I do not. I will not. Don't be silly. Often.
But yeah, there are various things I can use darkness points for. I can use them for the NPC equivalent, praying to the icons. I can use them to power certain abilities. In the same way that I get darkness points when you use certain talents, NPCs or monsters may have certain talents that cost me darkness points to use.
Okay.
Also, haven't fully read through how these mechanics work yet, but it seems that I can spend darkness points to trigger what would be either scripted or random encounters in another game. Looking at the scenario, the scenario has certain events which have a darkness point cost listed. So it would seem to be that maybe I could, not doing something from this scenario obviously, but picking something else. Say you were fighting pirates who are attacking your ship, and as part of this I decided that there was the possibility that pirates have these drones that can suddenly pop out of the ventilation shaft. that would be something maybe that would cost me a darkness point to use. So I've got darkness points. These drones can keep on popping up. It's not just, oh, he's got 3 drones listed on his character sheet and he can use them. I just spend a darkness point, drone pops up, tries to shoot the back of your head. Stuff like that.
Wacko.
The darkness points, in many ways, second time I'm drawing a comparison to one of my own game systems because I'm like that. I basically like to show off. The darkness points, again, remind me of the way Axe and its threat dice work. There are elements in this, while having a radically different system, do remind me of some of the way that Axe operates in terms of the dice and the way they interact with the GM and the players.
Okay.
Is of no meaning to anyone who hasn't played Axe.
Played Axe.
Which consists of Drut. Actually, if Fruichi's actually watching rather than just looking in chat, Fruichi has played Axe.
Oh, good point, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. On my YouTube channel, there is, I've forgotten what I called it now, the Something House. There is a short ghost story.
It's not the Marston House, is it?
It's something like that. Possibly the Middleton House. I think it was set it's definitely set in, I can't remember the name of the city I invented in my setting for my game.
So wait, your memory this time of year goes completely pants.
It's got a neighbourhood called Middleton. The house was in, so it was called the Middleton House, yes. And that was you, Wenchkin, Gary, and Fruichi. Yep. On my YouTube channel, if anybody is interested in seeing it. It wasn't that good, but it was quite fun. Right.
I've just been off picking surnames.
No, that's not the way darkness works. You don't get consumed by the darkness. Instead, the forces of darkness just appear around you
and consume you.
It's not a corruption. It's more it's more drawing it to you. It's like you don't want to put the ring on because the Witch King of Angmar will come looking for you. Start saying,
into the bag.
I think you'll find that belongs to a mate of mine.
God, the Witch King of Angmar from Essex, Jesus.
Hello, Bob.
It's the Witch King of Essex. Do you not know that? As opposed to that famous TV series, The Only Way is Ang. Now needs to be made. I want to see it.
The Only Way is Angband, yeah. Oh, good lord.
So, Meki, did you have any thoughts about which of those 3 talents you might like for your character?
Ding, 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 ding.
Apparently not.
Apparently not, no.
Give
him a chance for the stream delay to catch up and all that lovely stuff.
Yeah, so it was pretty good earlier on. You replied awfully quick. But I think I have still forgotten to turn on the low latency.
Yes, we are explorers.
Okay, yeah, you are explorers as a concept, but explorer does have a rather wider an interpretation than it might in other settings. I mean, taking Elite Dangerous, for example, if you were playing an explorer in the Elite Dangerous RPG, you'd be expecting to leave the bubble, go out looking fun stuff. Though there's still plenty of planets to look at within the bubble. An explorer in this also covers, or an explorer group, also covers things like journalists. Colonists, curious anthropologists, traveling journalists, prospectors. So you're not necessarily exploring geographically. You could be exploring culturally. So you identify lies if you've decided that what your explorers are exploring are actions and the peoples of the Third Horizon and what they're doing. Which would be a bit more anthropology than archaeology, but you could still make that work for your character Drut. Situation, identifying lies, knocking over.
Identify cat.
Apparently I am not allowed biscuits because they come in a packet, and if things come in a packet, they must belong to the cat. He knows this because when I feed him, it comes out of a packet, so therefore, that must be what it is.
He's never entirely been the sharpest tool in the box, has he?
Oh, no, he's thick as a whale omelette.
But he's gorgeous, so gets away with it.
But he is. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give you a moment to think about these talents and what you want, and maybe discuss it with Drut and Nightbites while I go and feed the cat before he causes even more.
I love even more trouble.
How much use is identify lies? Well, that depends on how many lies you're going to talk to, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be really, really useful.
Yes, I was checking out surname options. What are the options for Mechia? Third eye makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, to be honest.
Right.
Your feeding the cat takes about 3 seconds.
Yeah, well, I fed him. I had one of those trays of cat pate, and he had half of it earlier on, so it was just a matter of tipping the other half of the tray into the bowl. Didn't take a lot.
Is that not Soylent Green for puddy tats?
Yeah, that's pate for cats, not pate made of cats.
Okay, fine.
They don't sell that down here, or if they do, I haven't found that shop yet.
But would you try it if they did?
No.
No, cat.
I mean, there is that place up the road that I've got no idea what they sell, because none of it's written in English. But I don't think, pretty sure they still don't sell such things.
Yeah.
So, right, you were just about to start mentioning, you got partway through the first sentence, about names and things, which is a question I was about to start asking as well.
Yeah. I just went exploring for Middle Eastern surnames, or family names, basically. But what are we talking here, Fish? I mean, are we talking any surname types available? Are we talking predominantly, if we're going with that sort of feel, Middle Eastern?
Yeah, it's all of the names aren't certainly in the pre-published stuff. It's all sort of like that Arabic type of feel.
So yeah, I just went wandering off to the wiki page on Arabic names.
Got on the GM screen in the NPC tables, we've got a selection of first and last names, which I could give you a few samples from if you wanted. I can't pronounce any.
I've gone with pronunciation was a thing for me, so I went with one that I know how to pronounce the first name of because she's a character in The Protector. So I've heard people speaking Arabic saying her name.
Cunning.
So I thought Zainab Farouk would work. The surname Farouk just being... Apparently it means one who... was it one who redeems, I think it was.
Okay.
Hang on. It was one of the ones that actually has an interesting meaning.
No idea what you said.
One who distinguishes between right and wrong, Farouk. Apparently.
Okay.
So it means I get to be officially judgmental.
Cool. Always good.
Genetically judgmental.
I will need to research and come back with the name at a later date.
Guess that the spelling is different, Mickey, but
no,
yeah,
it is.
Basically.
It's that spelling.
That,
because, of course, it's an anglicised version, because it's a non...
Yeah, it's one of these things
a non-Roman script.
That, where you're going with a different alphabet.
Yeah.
There's 14 different ways of spelling.
Yeah. I'm going with how it's spelled on the
that
subtitle.
fits into Coriolis very neat. No problem with that. Yeah, I really need to do something. I need to make this bot a HIntPlays bot instead of a HIntFishy bot. But
yeah,
I just wanted to be able to get the multi-link up.
No, that's fair enough.
And this was literally last second before the stream.
See, last time I had a character with a name from that sort of region, he had a little friend called Mijay.
Oh my
Yay,
God.
that's going back a bit. Yeah, don't expect me to do the voices.
No, really,
If
no.
everyone in
Really don't.
if everyone in the setting has the accent, then no one in the setting needs the accent. That's the way it works.
Yes.
Quite.
Yes.
Yes.
And because
Whenever you hear me speaking with an English accent, you can hear Arabian.
yes.
Everybody's happy.
Yes.
Indeed.
And not me, Jay.
Oh,
Who was mobile.
He came prepared, apparently.
Becky's cheating. So that's going to get shortened.
Oh, that is so going to get short. It's all right for you. You guys can shorten it because in the mouths of NPCs, for me, they're probably going to use the whole thing.
Yes. Oh, fair enough.
Someone out there hates me, and he's called Mechian.
Oh, Mecky's lovely. Can't be mean about Mecky.
While I work on a name that I'm happy that I can pronounce,
Yeah.
what's the next steps?
Yup. Yes, we've only got one talent each. Do we get others?
Yeah. Okay. Just quickly putting the names that got. Now, I need a bigger piece of notepaper. However, that'll do for now. Okay, so yeah, we have got our talent from our concept.
Yup.
Next thing, we get to find out which icon. So, this is rolling using a D66, which is two six-sided dice rolled as if you were rolling percentile. So if you roll a 1 and a 4, you've got 15.
Okie dokie. I love these double dice, they're so useful.
So what's that? We're rolling what again?
2d6.
Two D6s as if they were a percentile die. So
55.
one die for tens, one die for 55 is the judge. So let me quickly read this little section here. Actually, just the 9 icons are ever present in the third horizon. Almost all believe in their power and the protection they offer from the dark between the stars. Prayers, giving alms, and the burning of incense are common among most people at the start of a long journey before signing a business contract or just to jumpstart the old harvester in the shed. You are born under the sign of one of the icons. This icon will have a tangible impact on your life, might just lend you supernatural powers. You won't get to choose your icon, this is up to fate. You actually make a deck of cards so you can draw which icon, but there's also the table here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If you were born under the judge,
Which means...
well, I'll tell you that in a moment.
Okay.
It means your name is Joe
Rather than
Dredd.
flick back to this table, I want to be able to go to the list of the icons and and do them all in one go.
I seem to remember an anime called
Am I
The
rolling
Judge.
2d6 for you, or are you rolling this for yourself? And while Mickey is answering that, what did you roll?
64.
I didn't hear that, but it was 60-something, and it didn't sound like
64.
1 or 2, so that means the faceless.
Excellent.
So, yes, you were born under the sign of the faceless.
Okay.
And Meki under the sign of the deckhand. Right, so let me run through these.
Sorry. There's this image of the born under the side of the, well, he was on shore leave.
Okay.
And you know, one
The
thing
deckhand,
turns to another.
the deckhand is symbolized by a key.
Okay.
This icon is usually portrayed as a tired boy holding a broom. The deckhand can bless homes and ships if they're well kept and the right offerings have been made. The judge, symbol a sword. An old matriarch with a grave face and a sword at her side is the common way to picture the judge. The judge's realm is that of justice and due punishment.
Oh,
The faceless
God.
has no symbol. The seeker among the icons is never pictured. In temples and on icon walls, there is instead an empty place or alcove, or an asymmetry in the placement of other icons.
Oh,
Right,
good.
and the talents that they will view.
So hang on, the guy who's obsessed, whose star sign effectively is justice and retribution, is also the Mad Bomber.
Okay, right. This is really, really simple, the way the talents for these work. Meki, who was born under the sign of the Deckhand, has the Deckhand's talent. Who was born under the sign of the Judge has the Judge's talent, which I think is the ability to stop block wars. And unsurprisingly, Drut, you have the Faceless One's talent. I'll just run through what these do so you know what you'll be able to play with in-game.
Yeah.
For the Deckhand's talent, if your ship drops to 0 hull points or energy points, you can restore a d6 points of either kind instantly. This requires no action from you. It is the icons intervening on your behalf.
That's awesome.
As the pilot, you can be considering Meki's character your lucky
My lucky charm.
Your lucky charm.
I can fly through all kinds of crazy shit. He keeps it together.
Yeah.
And he keeps it together somehow because the icons love, or the Deckhand does anyway.
Yeah.
The Judge's talent, you deal an automatic critical injury when your attack hits, regardless of whether the attack penetrated cover and armor. Any other effects from the attack are resolved as usual. Now, these are not happening all the time, by the way. Each use gives the GM 1 darkness point. And generally, they can only, unless it says otherwise, they can only be used once per session. So, you can't fly through an asteroid field and bounce into everything with Meki on board and everything will be fine. Once per session, though.
Yeah.
Did you say the Judge gives me an automatic or critical injury when attacking, ignoring cover and armor?
It's an automatic critical injury, irrespective of cover or armor. You just have to hit to be able to use it. If you've hit at all once per session, you can give me a darkness point to get an automatic
So
crit.
I roll my dice, I get a 6, I invoke the Judge, and the bad guy gets splattered.
Bang, critical injury, yeah.
That works.
That's pretty cool. Now, the Faceless One has more text than anyone else. Naturally, because Drut rolled it.
Yep.
Are they the assassins in Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
The Faceless One's talent. Fate is on your side, giving you the benefit of getting to change a single concrete detail in a scene to your favour. It must be something that has a cosmetic or indirectly helpful effect. You cannot make an enemy disappear, but you can decide that there is a knife within reach, or that a window has been left open. GM has final say on what it is possible to accomplish with the talent. Remember, you can only use the talent once per session.
Have you given me reality manipulation?
I've given you
Sounds like
minor reality manipulation, effectively, yes. I have given you a serendipity talent. Or I haven't.
awesome.
Your dice have given you a serendipity talent.
Excellent. Coincidence
That
magic.
is-
Here we come.
Kinda cool.
That is.
God.
Just so that we...
Do you wear red and hang out with a guy that has a big hammer?
What, yellow gloves,
Just
do you
checking.
reckon? Ooh. Oh, that's funny. Of all the things.
This is appearing off the side of the screen, but at least I've got a note of transfer this over to whatever layout I actually create for running the game.
Don't know that counts
see
as
some of this
cosmetic.
Okay, so that's your talents. You should now have a concept talent and a
An icon talent.
icon talent.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Back to the character creation rules. Next step apparently is your personal problem. As a PC in Coriolis, you have a history. You have been through something before the beginning of the game that still haunts or threatens you. Perhaps a mortal enemy, a dark secret, or a strong addiction.
We've been
Somebody
through
forced you to
shit.
roll on the Witcher life path tables. Whatever it is, it's called your personal problem. Each concept lists 3 suggested personal problems. Choose one from the list or come up with one of your own. So, I think Meki already got more detailed on his personal problems than the game really requires.
Yep.
So I don't know that I need to go to list the ones from the data spider. The suggestions for the pilot: you're reckless and take stupid risks with yourself and your ship, even when it isn't necessary. It's not a personal problem; it's a life choice.
Says Midas.
Yeah.
Or you hate humanites, the privileged, Nakatra, the Zenithian hegemony, something else, and will do anything to provoke one to close.
Hopefully
Or
just
you
one of.
scare easily
not
and never
everybody.
challenge yourself. Better safe than sorry.
So what was that last
something
one?
else that you
Sorry.
think. You scare easily and never challenge yourself. Better safe than sorry. Or just anything that you think sounds like a fun personal character. I do have the right of veto, obviously, but otherwise, have a ball with it. While you're thinking about that, I will give you the suggestions for the scientist, though I expect Strut as well, basically as an experienced gamer, just to come up with something. Right, you just can't stay off the cohort. It makes you impulsive and erratic. Bounty hunters are after you, but for something you didn't do. Or a competitor has slandered your good name. One day you shall have vengeance. As I say, yeah, whatever sounds like.
Yeah. I'm tempted actually to reverse one of those.
While you're thinking,
Well,
Druck, can I ask a question? The
Yes.
whole hates humanites, hegemony, whatever. Could that be diverted to the consortium, who run the planet that I'm on?
Whatever. The list? It gave humanites, the privileged, Nakatra, the Zenithian hegemony, something else. Basically, just a bigotry. If you want to have a bigotry against somebody, you are quite welcome to pick whoever. The particular operation from the consortium who ran the area you grew up in that you rebelled against would be ideal.
That's what I'm thinking. Given that the way the character seems to be looking is born privileged, didn't like the way
I'd be
things
inclined
ran, joined the
to
rebellion.
slightly expand it out that they probably hate you just as much.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with that. Yep, I'm down with that.
So the next step is your relationship to the other PCs. This is where things get interesting. As you enter the game, you will already have relationships to the other PCs. These relationships affect how you gain experience points and are useful tools for the GM to create suspense. Using your PC, describe your relationship to each of the other PCs with a short sentence character sheet. The NPC and or pre-gen PC, if somebody else jumps in who hasn't created a character and still wants to play, when we get, should be a fortnight with playing this, shouldn't it? Well, actually, no, we've got all three of us in the loop now, so 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah, got 2 weeks gap. So we've got Knight doing something and Drutt doing something, and then we're actually playing this.
But there was going to be a break because we weren't going to have 3 character gen sessions in a row.
No, we were going to have, as I recall, either going to be 2 character gen sessions and then the Nibiru quick start, which has pre-gen characters.
Yeah.
Or, if Drutt's okay with it, other alternative would be to go Nibiru next week, then another character gen session, then the first session of this, which would break up the 2 character gen sessions.
I think Nibiru next week may well be the best bet.
Okay.
Because if nothing else, I
where
need
I
to
was
read
going with
Frankenstein.
that, anyway, was that the 2 characters, whether they be NPC or PC, that are pre-gens, I will attach relationships that they already have to pre-gen characters to your characters. And I will attach the relationships going back the other way to your characters. But I'll make sure that I've let each of you know before we play this what that is, and if you want to modify that and change that relationship, then that's okay for something that fits your character better. But I'll tell you who those characters are and what the relationship is by default. Right, so your relationships. You also, once you've done your relationship to the other characters, you pick one of them as your buddy, your bestest friend in the whole group. And on the character sheet, you'll notice that there is a box next to the relationships section that you tick for your buddy. Don't know. I haven't read it yet. How this affects your experience points, because apparently your relationships affect how you gain experience points.
Okay.
And I haven't read that rule yet, so I honestly cannot tell you how that works. presumably, at its simplest level, it's just you get experience points for role-playing those relationships. If you've got written down that you think character Y is a complete dick, and you spend the entire session, laughing and joking, agreeing with all their plans, you're not going to get any experience, I imagine.
So you have to pick relationships with each of the other characters, or is it with all
Yeah, I mean, what we're doing for the moment is you have a relationship with each of the other 2 player characters that we are creating.
Okay.
And the others will be assigned. You will be assigned a relationship for anyone else.
Yeah.
Your decision as for your buddy is going to be decide on one of these 2 or decide it's not one of these 2. And if it's not one of these 2, I'll off-stream discuss with you which of the pre-gen characters would be best, most suited. Just because, for example, Shahad picks Zainab as their buddy doesn't mean Zainab has to pick Shahad.
Okay.
That doesn't necessarily work that way. You can like them less than they like you. Do you see what I mean?
Oh, welcome
so
to
theoretically, we could have a situation here where Drut has Knight as her best buddy, Knight has Meki as his best buddy, and Meki has Drut as his best buddy. It could work that way, or any combination. Everybody could love Drut, however it works. Anybody in game.
Fish, are you okay with a dark secret for my personal problem?
A dark secret is absolutely fine. Dark secrets are great. We like dark secrets.
Cool.
We always like dark secrets.
Cool. I'll tell you that one later then.
Sneaky way of keeping your problem out of the quick play scenario and making sure that I have to run a campaign of this just so that I can get your secret into play. For that.
I'll obviously run it by you. Just to make sure. It's I'm going to say it's nothing dramatic. Actually, you know what? Could be. Could be deeply worrying.
Just noticed that Knight has a name there. I'm assuming that is actually the name that you're going for that you've posted.
Yep, that's the name I'm going for.
Oh, okay. His forename is my surname.
What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, spelling is different, but yeah.
Spelling is different, but yeah.
Apologies.
Oh, it's alright.
I hadn't spotted that. So I changed my character's name once after I'd done exactly the same thing with Meki's character's name.
No, it's all good. Because I'm very rarely going to use my surname, I think. Unless I'm trying
that
to
gives the possibility for me to have all kinds of fun by having NPCs yell out Farouk, and neither of you know who you're talking to.
Yes.
The man with the gun steps out of the shadows, aims before anybody has a chance to act, and yells Farouk, who's ducking.
Or returning fire.
Yeah, good point. Yes. Okay, so...
Okay, so yeah. Let's have a quick look at the way the pre-gen characters have handled these relationships. So get an idea as to how it works. So, looking at the scientist, Dr. Amita Wana, who you are replacing.
Okay.
Zebo, the engineer in the party, she considers clearly a skilled engineer, but he can take the orders a bit lightly. Ruya, you're unsure about her moral compass, but she's invaluable in tough situations. I think she was a legionnaire, rightly. I have no idea how you pronounce that. Sam. A manipulator to the bone. You're not completely immune to his charms. I think that was a courtesan. And someone you listen to, though unfortunately the end of this sentence is missing from the character sheet.
Oh.
Oopsie.
But is the best buddy. There you go. I'm quite glad that character is being replaced by yours, Glut, because it means I don't need to try and figure out what the heck the rest of that relationship actually was.
Yes.
Let's jump back to, again, another character being replaced, the fighter pilot, Nima. So Nima was the fighter pilot.
Captain Nima.
Nima thinks of Dr. Wana, the boss, smart enough to realize that she does not test. Ruya, good person, reminds you of your old wingman in the Black Swallows. Sam, sneaky, don't like him. Though, if only he could keep his mouth shut. And their buddy is Ruya. Makes sense. It reminds of the old wingman or hippie old man. So it's just a simple, short, what do I think of this person? And you pick one to be your bestest buddy. I may steal the artwork, well, actually, for these characters, because they do have some quite nice artwork in here. So we've got a picture of a fighter pilot here, which I can steal.
Helpful.
Character 9.
What did you say for your name, Mickey? Shihad, yeah?
We also have... There she is, Dr. Warner, who actually looks a little bit like Carrie Fisher. For reasons.
I think...
that I can steal for your character.
I think my relationship to Mickey's Shihad is good...
that's the whole sentence.
Good at ferreting out secrets, which is fine as long as they are pointed at the enemy. And your fighter pilot, Farouk, I think is going to be like a large, dangerous puppy. I'm
going to obviously...
change that.
Oh yeah, there it is. It's on that page that I'm now currently sitting on that I should be able to see and say that that's what the rest of the sentence is.
That's just
I'm
based
going to require you,
first
obviously, to write these relationships and keep a note of them so that you can either DM me with them or something. And what I'm going to be doing between now and when we play, by all means, keep your character sheet. Have your character on a character sheet. It's far more convenient for you, but I am going to put the data from that character into Fantasy Grounds.
Yep.
This will probably include of the data, including the relationship characters, get put in there so that I've got access to it all, and it's all there, Fantasy Grounds, when you need to see it.
Cool.
I personally always like to have a physical character sheet anyway, so by all means, as I say, feel free to keep your character sheet as a PDF printed out or what have you as well. Just make sure that I know the information between now and then to get it all written up. I'll chase you. I've got a couple of weeks, no problems.
Yeah, you're subtle.
So, yeah, that's the relationship to the other PCs. Can I quickly ask, has anybody decided that the player characters is their bestest buddy?
I don't really know enough about the other player characters yet. Could we do a roughly where we think our characters are and coming from?
At the moment, I think there's a chance that Shihad could be my bestest buddy.
This is... I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, I must admit, with this relationship. Just feel free, if we can't finalise things now, that's not a problem. Feel free to discuss this in Discord and get it sorted out. You know, ask questions of each other and actually chat about it in Discord, because we're all on the Discord server, the Fog Online Discord server, which I will quickly just shove up in chat.
Yeah. I think based on what we know so far, the chances are I would be looking to Shihad to be my buddy, because he's going to be my good luck charm whenever I take to the skies.
Yeah, the good luck charm thing does really work for both for your relationship to him and as the reason for being a buddy. You know, viewing him as a good luck charm because somehow things seem to go better when he's on board your ship is a perfectly good relationship to that character.
That, to be honest, is where I'm leaning.
Anything else about the character?
I think definitely where I'm leaning.
I think Shihad may well be my bestest buddy because I really badly want him on my side in any given situation.
Likes Mickey, that's what it comes down to.
He's potentially dangerous.
Let's quickly run through some items of gear.
Yeah.
You will get money, and we'll sort out what equipment you get from that money between now and then. We're not going to go shopping on stream, especially on copy of the rulebook.
So many games involve an entire session of shopping.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And
I mean, I'm cool with
thing?
an entire session of shopping, but just not this session.
No, that's fair enough.
Fair enough.
So, starting with Meki, because that's the page that I currently have open.
And I'm now making a
You
note to
will
make sure I whistle.
Will get to pick between the following. First off, you can have a personal holograph, or just double check this. It says communicator, but then in square brackets after it, it says IV, and I'm wondering if that's actually
Cyberware?
either an implant or possibly a biosculpt. It might just be a class 4 communicator.
Yeah.
I can't find communicator anywhere in those bits. Sometimes it's not entirely clear on some of this stuff. You kind of need to have already figured these abbreviations out so that you can actually understand the damn things.
No.
Let me just...
3D picture.
A holograph. I'm assuming, yeah, just a 3D picture with some meaning to you. But I will jump to the equipment section and see what it has to say about such things, if it says anything about them at all.
God, I used to be into collecting holograms.
That's what the IV is on the communicator. It is indeed a class 4 communicator. You have a choice between an orbital communicator capable of reaching the orbit of a planet. This is a model so big it must be carried in a harness. Energy cells to work. Big old cells, not just batteries. Hydrogen fuel cells, in other words.
Okay.
Don't get shot in the battery compartment.
Sounds like such a euphemism.
Yeah, the holograph can transmit and receive holographic messages. The holograms are detailed enough to show tiny text and detailed pictures and can, for example, be used to see through a disguise. Three-dimensional floor plans and maps can also be transmitted. A personal holograph is for short-distance communication, about 10 kilometers, usually designed as a wristband tablet. It's a communicator either way. It's either a small holographic communicator or a big-ass backpack comlink capable of communicating with it. So,
just out of curiosity, if he uses the holograph, does this mean he has to do it by kneeling down and saying, "What is I bidding, my master"?
My master. Absolutely.
That's his activation code.
Right. You will also have either a portable lab or a computer. I'm going to take a wild guess that Meki's hacker might want a computer at this point.
Execute Order 66.
All gamers here, 66. Spirit of 76. And of course, 68 guns.
Oh my god.
Yep.
I can see a formulated playlist of gamer songs coming out of it. Which means I don't need you fish to write the gamer versions.
Yes, some of 69 is going to be interesting.
That's going to have some Cthulhuid ramifications to try to work out the dimensions of the die.
Oh, yes. Well, it's easy enough. You just roll the D18 and halve it.
Order 66. Okay, yeah, so portable computer.
Computer.
Next, you will have either an exoshell or a database. I'm actually going to be mean and I'm going to insist on the exoshell because the scenario requires that everybody has an exoshell. So, an exoshell basically is like an armored back suit.
You know that exo skill I could have taken earlier on when I decided to go for the targeting system.
Oopsie.
Yeah.
Everybody in the quick start has an exoshell. And there is a scene very early on where you are all using exoshells. So where exoshell is an option here, I'm making it for you.
Fair enough.
And you're having an exoshell.
Okay. Makes sense.
To keep the game working.
Mm-hmm.
Next, you have a choice between a pressure tent or a med kit. not quite why your hacker would want a pressure tent.
Or a
Okay,
med kit for that matter.
I'm also looking at the wrong page.
Are you always looking at the wrong page?
I looked at the wrong page for the last two. You're still fine with your computer. Your computer was, in fact, still an option, but it was a proximity sensor. For some reason, I flicked back to scientist instead of a data. Yeah, all right, your next choice. There's no option for an exoshell here. I'm going to have to give you an exoshell if it doesn't work out. But
I suppose the other option is if most of us don't have the option for an exoshell, make the other choice, and then we all get.
Yeah, I may just give you the exoshell as part of the ship's.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you've got your computer. You have a choice between a stun gun or, and this, I'm going to need to explain it because it sounds absolutely silly when just read out like this, a Vulcan cricket. Now, Vulcan cricket is, of course, with 3 ears, a left ear, a right ear, and a final front ear.
Is it like a noisy cricket with blue?
Yep, something along those
lines.
lines.
It actually is like a cricket, yeah. The Vulcan gun is the name given in this setting to gyrojet pistols and rifles. So, or for those who know Warhammer 40,000, bolt guns.
Oh.
It is a gun which fires rocket-propelled ammunition.
Yay!
The cricket, I think, is the smallest version of.
I see no way this could possibly go wrong.
We're in space.
The standard, the standard weaponry for people flying around on spaceships in this game is something that fires mini rockets.
Oh God!
It comes just before the logo.
Yes. Okay. Exactly, Dav. And to much the same effect.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned noisy cricket, Dav, because that is the gun from Men in Black.
Explosive decompression is your friend.
Until it isn't.
Yeah. So that was what, 3?
You have yet to find a description of the being light. Got its stats.
It's a stun gun, not a fun gun.
Vulcan guns are gyrojet rifles. A specific description of the Vulcan cricket, I have not.
Do we take hostages? What, generically, or do you just feel like it?
It's a good question on the choice of stun gun versus cricket, it's got to be said.
Yeah, true.
Now, stun gun versus cricket bat would be a far more interesting conversation.
Well, that depends on what cricket bat you're talking about. If you're talking about the heinous game played on the planet Earth, which causes them to be ostracized by the entirety of the galactic community because it is so outrageous that one might make a game out of something so deadly as the invaded cricket robots. Wouldn't be such a big deal. But if it's actually a cricket bat from one of the cricket robots, that's a nasty thing it is. Right, so we've got a Vulcan cricket.
Of course, this is where we find out the Vulcan cricket is actually some kind of crazy sport from Star Trek where that's done 0G.
Yep. There's an image.
Okay, so next choice. You can have a tabula, which in this day and age you would call a tablet, as in digital one, not as in pill. Or a transactor with 1,000 beer. Now, I'm assuming that's basically a credit card. I'm going to try and find it and see.
I need to take a quick AFK. I'll be right back.
Tell you what else I'm going to do. I'm going to stop flicking through this book, and I'm going to remember that I've got a perfectly searchable PDF open here.
Well, there is that.
And actually make use of the wonders of digital technology. I fed you once to an.
You're getting bugged. Oh, yes, you are. Hello, Moggle.
I've got a cost for a transactor. Do I get a description? Personal identity card that can hold beer and credit as well as other information. Since it is personal, it is easy to trace. Yeah, basically a ID stroke credit card with 1,000 beer on it. Or a tablet. Tablet that can be operated by hand or using ornate stylus pens. A object used to gather information, keep a diary, or just read the bulletin news. One of the other concepts actually does get a transactor with fake ID on it. The fugitive gets a transactor with fake ID. I'm willing to bend the rules a bit and give you the fake ID instead. If you don't get the credits on it, if you have the fake ID, just the fake ID. So your choice. You can either have 1,000 beer or you can have a fake ID. Take the money. Last but not least, I have to look up what these are.
What are?
Two things that are in-game universe things. Right. Okay. Oh, right. And you will have one of them. You have no choice in this. That's interesting. Okay, so... I need a description now of Arash. There it is, Arash. Arash is a strong stimulant with pain-relieving properties, usually smoked in a hookah or added to so-called dream wine.
Sounds
Pieces of fresh Arash can be eaten directly, but this is considered a sign of strong addiction. The user becomes drowsy and calm, -1 to all skill tests. So you either have Arash or you have Opor. Synthetic Arash, stronger and more addictive. Usually smoked in long pipes or burned on a plate, with the smoke being inhaled under a rag. Can also be injected. Gives the user a powerful high and -2 to all skills.
Oh, wacko.
That's your two options. So,
Do
you know,
you
you've
want-
either got a drug or a different drug.
Do you
Apparently,
want hashish
data
or
providers just
crack?
are a bit dodgy.
Yeah.
Can you please not have -2 addiction? Okay, so you've got some Arash. I mean, I need to further read through the setting material here, but I think the fact that it's listed under everyday items in here, Arash is clearly a very common thing that lots of people smoke in their hookah.
Okay.
And you are not actually addicted to it, unless, of course, you've chosen that as your personal problem. But you could get addicted to it in game, I suppose. You have got anyway. There we go. That's next up is our pilot.
Yes, indeed.
First choice that you have. Just know what a talisman is, but I just want to see if we've actually got a specific description in setting.
I've got an ancient boxed board game.
Ancient boxed board game, yes. Picture or symbol representing one of the icons, worn on the body or placed somewhere visible in a vehicle, spaceship, or shop to bring good fortune and protect against dark influences. A blessed talisman grants a +1 modifier to 1 dice roll. See the talent, talisman make. So you can have a talisman, which will give you a +1 pilot to 1 die roll. Or you can have a set of ordinary tools.
Is that 1 die roll ever, or 1 die roll per session, or?
I will need to look up the talisman maker to be sure. That sounded like 1 die roll ever, but I will look at the talent.
Okay.
It's going to be in the mystic rules, isn't it?
Yeah.
Clearly a mystic talent. Find the mystic. Or I've got to use this searchable thing that I
The
already
PDF
established.
that you've
Searchable
already
thing.
got, yes.
I can do this on this.
Oh, good Lord, Mickey. A D20 is a
Talisman maker. Right, you know how to create and bless talismans. The process takes a d6 hours and requires a chapel or altar. A talisman provides a +1 to 1 skill test, then the blessing wears off. So yeah, would be a talisman that would give you a +1 to 1 piloting test, and then it would wear off.
Mm-hmm.
The alternative is a set of tools.
Sorry, a set of...
Ordinary tools.
I'll take the tools, please.
Okay. So, tools.
So I can use those more than once.
Okay, since I am apparently giving exoshells to people, anyway,
Yeah.
you can have a hand jet. Because you're going to get an exoskeleton.
That sounds fun. What's a
yeah.
hand jet?
Anyway, I have no idea. I mean,
Okay.
I've
It's a car isn't it?
Yes, but
Pressure washer.
no, I think it's going to be quicker just to search. Hand jet. A handheld jet unit designed as an engine. One person in 0G gives +1 to dexterity in 0G. So yeah, it is basically a 0G ring thruster thing, handheld type thing. One of those things that divers use only in space.
Yeah.
You're playing Subnautica in space.
Yay.
Or if you're Drat playing Helion,
Yes.
it's a fire extinguisher.
Yes. I discovered the fire
Yeah,
extinguisher
actually.
can be used to steer in 0G. I was in trouble and I'd just been watching Gravity sue me.
Yeah.
I was surprised as anyone to find out it worked.
I must get back and see how that game is coming on. The single player stuff included now and everything. Right. Well, since you already have a targeting scope,
Yeah.
I'm still going to give you the choice at this point because it's the first time character creation in this system.
Okay.
You can either have a Class 4 communicator, which is the orbit range communicator that comes in a backpack style in capacity, or you can reselect your talent, get your targeting scope from here, and become either an exospecialist or have 0G.
Ooh, you know what? If you're going to allow me to do that,
I
I'll
will
take
allow you to
scope
do
here and become an exospecialist.
that. Okay, sorted. So your next choice is between a stun weapon or an accelerator pistol. Accelerator pistol is what railguns are set to.
Accelerator pistol, please. Let's face it, my background is pretty much terrorist. Why would I be stunning people?
And finally, you can either have exquisite clothing or you can have a flight suit.
Flight suit. All about the flight suit.
All about the flying.
I've pretty much abandoned my privileged family life, everything else. Why the hell would I keep their bloody stupid clothes when I can have something utilitarian and useful?
Oh, goody. Citizen pilot.
Maybe I should change his last name to Smith.
Wolf.
Right, so our scientist
Hello.
has a choice first off between a Class 3 communicator or a proximity sensor.
Okay.
So let's just
Hang on a sec.
mind
I have
ourselves
a
with the
choice of-
communicators. We didn't look at Class 3, we looked at Class 4, which we know
Yeah.
is a backpack.
Mm.
Class
better.
3 is a long-range communicator, usually handheld, communicates to 100 kilometers distance.
Right. Or what was the other thing?
The other thing is a proximity sensor.
That seems a little bit of a downgrade, to be honest.
Find the proximity sensor. Then I can tell you I'm going to take a wild stab that it probably comes under survival. Yeah. But I could be wrong. So I'm going to search for a proximity sensor.
The proximity sensor.
I'm holding a book with a cat standing on my lap and still trying to type. So apologies for slight delays. The proximity sensor scans several spectra of the surroundings and displays detailed live information about terrain, vehicles, and even individual persons in the area.
Oh.
Information is not exact enough to identify someone or to make out more about a vehicle than type and model. It has 2 modes. Active mode covers extreme range in open terrain and forests. Hidden objects and threats require a skilled sensor operator to spot. The sensor allows the operator to test technology to find hidden things in her surroundings. When the sensor is in active mode, it is easy, +2, to discover it using other sensor tech.
And I don't have technology, is the
technology. This mode has long range, but is less risky to the user as it won't reveal the user's location. No bonus to spot the sensor user. So it comes down to, do you have a proximity sensor which delegate use of to one of the 2 people in your team who have technology, at the very least 2, because both the other PCs do. Both the other PCs
Every other bugger's got it, yes. Or
do you have your nice 100-kilometer handheld communicator?
I'm thinking proximity sensor.
As I'm seeing in my head at the moment, I may be wrong about it, in 80s mobile phone.
80s mobile phone is about what I'm seeing, yes. I may have to buy one. But proximity sensor is what I'm taking from this choice.
Okay, prox sensor. Right. Next up, you can have a computer or you can have a portable lab. Now, let's just have a quick look and see how they define a portable lab. Of course, I saw it as I was flicking through it. I saw portable lab, I remember this. Portable laboratory, a lab unit which can be used for most analyses, comes with bio, rad, chem, and spectral sensors, gives a +2 to science when analyzing foreign substances and objects.
I'm thinking portable lab might be a plan.
Okay. Portaloo, I mean lab.
Thank you.
You will then have a database, because again, I'm giving you all your exoshells for free, apparently.
What does the database actually encompass?
Data, probably. I would imagine. Since you don't get a choice in it, can we look it up later?
Yeah, of course.
Right, you then have a choice between a pressure tent or a med kit. You're going to want to know what a pressure tent does, aren't you?
I am.
Person tent that regulates pressure and gas levels to make the inside atmosphere pleasurable to humans. Comes with enough oxygen in a completely oxygen-free environment for 1 day. In low oxygen surroundings, the oxygen will last proportionately longer. If the tent absorbs some oxygen from the surrounding atmosphere, harmful substances are filtered out.
Right.
Sounds like quite a useful piece of...
It is. What do you get in the med kit?
Right.
This
Medkit is an ordinary bag of medicurgical supplies for treating wounds, poisonings, radiation damage, or severe illness. Contains a diagnostic unit, suture gun, pneumatic needles, bandages, and other basic gear, as well as 10 M-doses. M-doses are basically auto-injectors for curing shit.
Okay.
Medkit gives a +2 to medicurgy. Bonuses for medical equipment do not stack. Use only the highest bonus.
So, just out of curiosity, nobody else has got a med kit yet, have they?
I don't.
Not yet.
Med kit then. Since I've got the medicurgy skill.
So that kind of makes sense. And then you can have a compass or advanced tools. That seems a bit unbalanced.
Unless the compass is a hell of a
And this
lot more
compass
impressive than
does
it
something way
sounds.
more awesome than it sounds. Yeah. Compass gives +1 to survival when orientating in difficult terrain, if the local magnetic fields allow it. The compass comes with a built-in altimeter to help when traveling hills and mountains. It's not that awesome.
It's
not,
is it?
My watch does that.
Advanced tools, multi-tools for all kinds of advanced repairs as long as the proper spare parts are available, gives +1 to technology. You're not a tool person. You'd be delegating again.
Yeah. And I'm already doing that with one of
The
my
tools
picks.
ordinary that Knight already owns, by the way, they allow the repair but don't give any bonus.
Yeah.
Advanced tools give a bonus.
Yeah. I think I'm actually going to take the compass because I have survival. And I put several points into survival.
Seems logical then.
Okay.
Despite it not being awesome.
I want to know, when you are in space, does the altimeter read?
The altimeter just lies quietly in a corner crying.
Right.
Wrapped in a blanket, rocking gently to itself.
I suspect it lies and says 0 because it's in a pressurized environment. It's working on the pressure.
Could be. I mean, do we have artificial gravity? Because that's going to screw everything up.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain we have artificial gravity. Nothing else, there are you've got a guard of your spaceship.
Very, very dirty around the Arboretum if there was no artificial G.
Yeah, true. True.
Okay, the last thing, barring spending your starting capital on equipment, which we're not going to be doing, that is supposed to be decided, is your crew positions.
Oh.
Now, fairly obvious that Knight is going to be the pilot.
Yes.
And I hesitate to say this, but does seem to run into the captain.
I'm sorry, pardon.
Sorry, you've just completely broke up, Fish.
Who fell into the captain?
Drat.
Ah. Yeah.
Because you're very much the pilot, Knight.
I am very much the
They
pilot.
are separate roles.
Yes,
I don't have any command points.
No, I don't have command, except in as much as, well, let's face it, she'll probably be played with it. Because if I've gone for privilege...
It does, however, say, also, you are free to switch positions during play, so the choice is not permanent.
I'll take
Basically,
the
these crew positions are really only important during space combat.
Yeah.
And the positions are captain, engineer, pilot, sensor operator, and gunner. Now, you've got one character who really belongs in both the pilot and gunner roles here, who is also probably the best trained for sensor operator, and should just fly the whole damn ship on his own.
What skill does sensor operator come under?
I would guess that sensor operator must come under...
As would engineer.
As would engineer.
So basically, I could fly the whole ship on my own.
Yep. Yep, you could.
But
did I take manipulation? If not, why not?
I will say now, though, that the scenario does not involve space combat, so it's all a bit redundant, except as a role-playing point as to what you do. Suggest that maybe you Blake 7 it. And while there are roles that certain characters are likely to jump into, anyone's really going to be doing anything.
Fair enough.
I mean, not anyone can fly the ship because you haven't spent the time to actually teach them how to do it, unlike the scenes that we had demonstrating in early Blake 7 that Jenna taught everybody how to do basic piloting.
Yes.
Which, to be honest, I may well be doing.
But that's the kind of thing that, if we carry this on, can be done happily in-game anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Meki. You would be perfect for the sensor operator in this situation, provided that people can actually trust that what the sensors are telling you is what data you're giving to them, and hasn't been manipulated, tweaked, modified along the way.
I think she wouldn't be a lazy pilot, Dav. I think she would be one of these, you all know your jobs. Kill them.
This is where Meki and I spend an entire session just completely gutting the ship of its wiring and rewiring it so that multiple things can be done from one station.
Stick my head out periodically. Is this something I should know about? No. Right, okay.
Move along.
Cues up
Back
Netflix.
to the guns to the pilot seat, please.
Oh, no.
Last thing we're going to do before I end this stream and we all wander off is just purely as a heads up advance. So, in case you want to do any tweeting over the next, I'll read you the opening to the scenario.
Okay.
The bridge of the Nazalis is quiet except for the steady hum of ventilation system and faint sound of avionic sensors. You've been travelling through the depths of the Dabadan system for the last week. At first, it was just another mindless routine job. Pick up and drop off. You've done this 1,000 times. But then something happened. A signal from a representative for the Foundation. An offer of a lucrative mission if you found a missing ship, the Shamsa, being a professor from Dabadan. It was too good to turn down, and the coordinates of the last known position of the ship were just a short detour from your route anyway. So you took it. That was 2 days ago. Now suddenly the ship's sensors have come to life. Alerts and prompts warn you of something close by. It's not a ship, it's a station. And that is where we will be beginning in 3 weeks' time.
Excellent. Liking the sound
And
of
I'm
this.
really looking forward to running this.
Yeah.
I'm liking the sound of this.
Yeah.
I mean, there are still elements of the game system that they're not how I would do things. It is very much a streamlined, lightweight narrative game system. I don't have an objection to narrative game systems. Axe is a narrative game system. But I'm a bit of a simulationist, as everybody who knows me and has played with me knows.
Indeed.
I really like the setting. And I'm looking forward to playing this and seeing how it works out.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for watching on all 3 channels.